We'll have a moment of silence. Everybody please rise. And then, Mr. Garcia, would you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Any comments, Commissioner?
Well, I'll just ask you to make comments on the I-69 and the university events that we attended this week.
I think we had a historic week in Cameron County this week. Two things that are game changers for our region, for South Texas, for Texas and the nation, I think have occurred starting Monday. We had the I-69 unveiling of the signs and the Interstate 2 unveiling. 113.5 miles of interstate signed in South Texas, which is historic. More importantly, hopefully it will lead to economic development and opportunities, jobs for our folks here, and increased mobility of freight, goods, and people through our area, which will lead to prosperity for us. The second event that we had the pleasure of attending was the merger of the ceremonial signing of the merger of the University of Texas in Edinburgh and here in Brownsville. Another historic event, you know, the merger and the new medical school are also huge, historic, once in a lifetime things that occur in communities. Sometimes it takes years for most of us to realize how big of a game changer to our area things like that are. But if we look not too far back of San Antonio and what happened there when the medical school opened in San Antonio and the growth that has occurred around that medical school, the opportunities that have come up, the quality of life improvements that have been occurring on a regular basis, and quality of life, you know, better opportunities economically for folks that live there, better opportunities for families, better quality just all around. I think that the whole valley will be benefiting from this. And, you know, I personally want to thank the court, especially in the I-69 I've been very involved with, the interstate issues in the I-2. The court has allowed me time, money that this county has invested in me and a number of other people, and I wish to name them, you know, because Pete Sepulveda and David Garcia have been at the forefront with us all the way. The judge has been extremely supportive every time we've needed something in Austin to make happen. And, you know, we're not done with that project. We still have to connect up, and we have a few projects left to be built. But the fact that we are signed and we are an interstate is a major accomplishment for many folks in this area. And this commission has been totally behind that project. So, Sophie, thank you for all the work you've done. Sophie served on our segment committee, which was a critical component of that process. And, you know, it's been great. And Commissioner, the same to you. Thank you so much for all the support that you give us all the time on that.
Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, we'll go ahead. Public comments. I didn't see anything here on the judge's desk. If someone wishes to comment later, you know, or somebody didn't turn in a sheet, or I missed them, we will, if I'm notified, we will take care of that. Consent items. Are there items that anyone wishes to pull out for discussion? And I have a list of which I was given for tabling. There's two items to table, which is R, single R. Let me see the other one. And 4 or quadruple U for tabling. I also have A to pull out, N, G, G, P, P, Q, Q. Before GG was N, like in Nancy?
And then GG?
Yes.
And then
After
after that?
GG is PP, and then QQ, RR, SS, TT, triple W, triple Y, quadruple B, and that is all I have. Any others, commissioners? Or staff?
I think you got them all.
Got it? Okay. Commissioner Sanchez?
I don't have any.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve and table the items that's there?
Did you pull the travel items? I need to advise you all on the travel as well.
Can you advise us
Yes,
now?
I can. On the travel items, the travel that's being incurred, I believe, is about 10,000 and some odd dollars, or maybe 8,900. And we only have, with that travel approved, that will only leave us about $1,200 in the budget. So it's possible that the travel budget is already over budget because travel that has been approved prior to this meeting, if the travelers have not requested an encumbrance already, then that travel has not been booked as a pending debt. However, we do have money in the mileage expense reimbursement, so we probably have about maybe about $8,000 there that we would be able to move from the mileage to the travel, but we're getting ready to, I mean, if we're not maxed out on the travel already, we will be very shortly, especially with all this travel
But we
approved.
should be able to have enough in the mileage fund? to cover-
That's leaving in there about $10,000 already. So we're getting to the bottom of the,
So with the travel that's going to be taken and the one that they're requesting now, the $10,000 would cover that?
yes, and it's a little bit difficult to forecast how much travel has already been approved by this court that they have not requested encumbrances. What our office is going to do, we're going to send a memo out countywide to all departments that have travel that has been approved. If they have not requested an encumbrance, a purchase order, to please request one now so that we can find out exactly where we are on the travel. But it's, just a word of caution to the court.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No. Move to approve?
Second?
Motion to approve the items that are presented with the exception of those that are tabled or pulled. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 2A, consideration approval of an excess agreement between Cameron County and the Public Utilities Board of the City of Brownsville to allow BPUB permission to enter into county-owned property. I had a question on that, and it's, or not a question, but a request to be made along with that. Can we make sure that we get copies of all the findings and documents of that study for allowing them permission? Pete, is that a reasonable request?
Yeah, I'm sure PUB would not have a problem
Okay.
providing that.
What's that?
They're lawyers here.
No? Okay.
Move
Okay.
to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Item N, like in Nancy, consideration and authorization to enter in a professional services agreement between the Cameron County Clerk's Office and Tyler Technologies to retrieve and import images and indexes from ACS County Court records to Odyssey Image, estimated to be $19,600. The question I had was, how many more imports and indexes are we going to have to be paying for with our, do we have any idea? Does anybody have any idea? Joe Reyes? Would you want to come up here real quick? Well, and I'm not so much concerned about that particular item. My question
In
is,
general?
how many other departments are we going to be doing conversions on that are going to cost us more money that we had not anticipated?
That's a joke question.
That's a joke question, yeah.
That's a joke. But that should cover the county clerk's office as far as the images and data that needs to be converted.
And these images, do they fall within any special fund account that we could use money from certain restricted funds to pay for this? Martha?
We're using the records management fee for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a special fund that we
Yeah.
use for the conversion.
Okay, so it's not hitting our regular budget, it's all coming from yours, okay.
Yeah.
So any other department that wants their stuff transferred, they need to find it in the budget?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I'm just concerned that we're going to be getting a lot of these type of requests, and I want to anticipate some of that to help, our budget officer and auditor make sure we are covered.
Don't know exactly how many other departments are going to attend. I know that the district clerk started with the ECS conversion, everything, we're still working on that, everything went fine. The DA's office has made mention they might want to start scanning, that's something we're looking at for the future. Other than that, those are the only departments that have
Okay.
approached us to discuss
Okay.
it this time.
Joe, hadn't the DA's office already started scanning at one point?
Yes, ma'am, but we have to import those indexes into Odyssey, so when they
Oh.
call up a case, they can pull up that information.
Okay.
And is there a conversion required for everything they've scanned?
On the back end, it has nothing really to do with the system itself, it's all done in the back end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So as far as Odyssey is concerned, there's no additional cost, it's each department trying to do that on their own.
Yeah.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
Moved in second.
Joe, I have another question for you. For the JPs, are they all, we're not gonna have any problems for any more conversions or bringing them onto the Odyssey program?
No, ma'am, they're live right now. We're working on the issues list like we've done with the other two phases. Right now, we're still steaming forward, full steam ahead.
Okay, any problems?
There's some, but we're working through them. I'm not going to say every conversion is flawless, but we are working through everything
Okay.
we get.
Let us know if there's problems.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item GG. Arnold, are you gonna?
I think Mr. Wethy's here to talk about a little bit about the RFP process before you all go ahead and approve that.
Okay. GG, for the record, is consideration and authorization to advertise for the following bids, RFPs, RFQs. Request for proposal, RFP, for self-funded or fully funded workman's compensation insurance coverage to be provided by the insurance company or a local government self-insuring risk pool organized under the Texas Interlocal Compensation Act, and approval of the RFP draft. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners Court. For the record, my name is Ken Wethy. I'm the independent consultant on a fee-for-service basis. You should have been emailed the draft of the RFP that we will be using. It's to be on both a fully insured basis. However, it would have deductible options of $100,000, $200,000, and $300,000, as well as no deductible. Your current plan does not have a deductible. As we have reviewed the history, your plan has been working very well, and I think the options for higher deductibles on a fully insured basis would be a good thing to review and consider. The fully insured means that the insurance company is saying to you, if you take a deductible of $100,000, let's say, is you will be responsible for that first $100,000, and then anything over that for the life of that medical claim is going to be the responsibility of the insurance company or the risk pool. And that's important because we have lifetime medical. So if we were to move to another company, that company that is fully insured with that high deductible will still be responsible for those claims. So you don't have to worry about continuing obligations for claims incurred prior to your date of termination. Now, the other option that we'll be asking for will be self-funded. And with self-funded, like with our health plan, there will be an administrator, and he will provide the claims services to process those claims. There will be a network that administrator may have already, or he may develop as he takes on this group. Then there will be a third component, which would be the excess risk insurance. And those would have higher deductibles of $200,000, $300,000, or $350,000. Now, with the self-insured option, the county is responsible for those claims. And so if you go to change to another administrator, then you will continue to have the responsibility for those claims for the lifetime of the claim. So we'll evaluate those two options in greater depth once we get the proposals in. I think this will cover the waterfront of what can be the options for the county to capitalize on what's been some good experience that you've had over the years. With that, I would take any questions that the commissioners may have.
What can we anticipate the operation, in a self-funded plan, what can we anticipate to be the net cost for operating the plan? Do you have a percentage that you can give me?
Probably, yeah,
Average?
we're going to have paid claims and we're going to have incurred claims.
Right.
But let's think in terms of the incurred claims.
Well, I'm not looking at the paid claim cost. I'm looking at the administrative cost. As a percentage of our contribution to the fund, what percentage could we anticipate for managing the plan cost to be?
Probably in the range of 10 to 12% would be my estimate on it, 10 to 15%.
Okay.
And so this, by going self-funded, you will have control of the cash and you will build reserves. And so then we'll be monitoring the cost. Of course, as your years go by, you're going to continue to have responsibility for processing the old claims as well as the new claims as they come about. But I think that 10 to 15% could be a reasonable expectation.
10 to 15 or 10 to 12%?
10 to 12%. Excuse me.
And I'm just looking at numbers like on Exhibit 15.
Yes.
I'm looking at, which is the fund contributions and the claims occurred from 2005 to the present. And, do you see that?
Yeah, exhibit 15.
Right, Exhibit 15. We contributed like 11,045,856, right?
Yes.
Cumulatively. We incurred claims of 4,650. And even if we were to add a 50% cost for plan operations of 1.6 million, we're still way in the black.
Yeah. And now, the key will be how to set the reserves for your ultimate liability on the claims.
But that's where you would maybe put a deductible piece?
Well, you asked me the question, what we consider to be the admin cost.
Right.
And then we would have another factor for the reserve for the ultimate liability on those claims.
But do you insure per claimant? a maximum amount that we would be responsible for? Could you do like stop-loss type insurance on that?
Yes, and that's where the self-insured retention amounts of 200,000 or 300.
300 or 100?
Right,
Okay.
will come into play.
Okay.
So,
But are those the deductibles, or?
well, when we're talking fully insured, we talk in terms of a deductible. When we're self-insured, it's a self-insured retention amount. So when I'm over here on the self-insured retention, it's self-insured up to
That amount?
that
It's
amount.
kind of like a stop-loss.
Right.
Exactly.
Like an umbrella?
It's the umbrella, and you will have that for the life of the claim. The protection from the excess loss carrier will be for the life of the claim.
And we set that umbrella, that
Yes.
cap?
Say it again, please.
Do we set that cap, or how does that cap come about?
Oh, the claim is going to, this is going to be per individual claim, and that
Okay.
claim is going to build over time.
Okay.
So we have in our exhibit, page 17, we show our large claim history, and we've been very fortunate. We've had one claim that has exceeded $200,000 on an incurred amount. Well, really two claims. One for $361,000 and one for $333,000. So that's where your excess loss coverage would come into play.
Oh, I see, I understand that. Okay.
What percent would you normally, I know that it would be based on the loss ratio, but about what percent do you anticipate putting into reserves on a yearly basis, in general?
10 to 15%. So we got 10 to 12 for admin, another
Say,
10 to 15.
even 30%, if you
Yeah,
add those
no,
two
yeah,
up,
Yeah.
Still ahead of the
you're
game?
still ahead of the game by 20%.
Yeah. No, I think it's time. And
Yeah.
so let's see how the market plays in. And very important, when we come back to you with the results of this RFP process, we need to have good illustrations so you can have a meaningful comparison of here's the option A, we stay fully insured but take high deductible options, or B, we're self-funded and this is what we can expect this year, and then we have to work it out for future years.
Can you also analyze some of our prior claims that have had longer-lasting medical benefit claims, just to kind of have an idea?
Yes.
'Cause,
And,
I mean, we
and that's
need to-
what this page 17 is telling us, but I think what I'm hearing from you is what would be the run-out, the yearly run-out as we build a $360,000 individual claim? How much was paid in that first year, second year, third
Right.
year type of deal? Yeah.
So, I mean, because if we're going to compare apples to apples, we need to look at the complete picture, because anything in the past, we're not going to have to worry about those claims. But
Exactly.
if we're incurring future claims, I mean, Commissioner's Court 10 or 15 years down the road might be having to pay some of these claims.
Exactly. And so the quality of that excess loss insurance coverage
Critically.
is going to be very, very critical.
Yeah.
And so,
But there seems to be enough room there to where we can pay a premium for that and still come out ahead of the game.
ahead, yes, on a, put adequate reserves in there for the unknown, but I think we built enough history to be able to say option A or option B is the way to go. And it's looking like option B.
Well, unless option A comes in with a very, very
Reasonable.
competitive and reasonable bid,
Yeah,
then they can have the risk.
yeah. So,
And I guess my other question is, why hadn't we done this before, or had we?
well, we did it last year, and we did it to see what the market would tell us to duplicate what we have now. And the result was we didn't get a good response. And so now we're going back to the market and saying, we want to really look at high deductible options and self-funded options.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We got our work
Thank you,
to
Mr.
do.
Wethy. Look forward to getting.
All right,
that.
thank you.
Item PP, discussion and possible action to allow beach snack bar contract number 2012 C0331 to sell ice cream prepackaged products on the beach at Isla Blanca Park. And the next item, QQ, is the same, except it's a different contract number, but it's the same concept. Javier, I have two questions in regard to that, and that is, how are you going to limit how far up and down they go and where? And can others do the exact same thing if they have a contract also with us,
Well,
if we approve this?
These two concessionaires.
Are limited to just Isla Blanca?
Yes, just Isla Blanca, and they're the same family. They own the beach snack at Sandpiper. Or not they own, but they lease, or they have the lease with us for the beach snack at Sandpiper, and the one for DJ Lerma. So they would pretty much, they're the only ones that are able to sell snacks in those two pavilions. So what we want to do, or what they requested, is to be able to sell in a push cart ice cream along the beach. These people, one of them also has the umbrella rentals. But right now, all they're allowed to do is sell out of the building snacks. So they're requesting that they can, sell along the beach.
Walk the beach within the county.
Right. We don't allow anybody else to come in and sell, like we do up in the north end, where we sell them a permit.
Rico Celotes.
Right, because they don't pay us a monthly rent or any concession fees or anything like that. So,
Do they have to apply for a permit just like everybody else and put up the same type of insurance? Or are
No.
they covered under the concession they have with us?
they would be, we would have to amend it and then, have all the additional requirements for it.
But these are the folks that are already running a concession stand
Yeah.
there.
That's
They just
correct.
want to be able to make it easier for the public that's purchasing, not to have to walk up to the,
Right,
And that's all they'll sell is ice cream?
just ice cream.
Okay, I would move to approve.
Okay,
second?
moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And
Motion-
that's for P and Q?
Right, PP and QQ. Yes, ma'am.
I'll bring the amendment back at the next meeting.
Okay. RR is consideration and approval of a grant adjustment notice for the Cameron County 2011 Operation Stone Garden Grant from Texas Department of Public Safety, Homeland Security. My question would be to maybe Martha. How far, are we current with all of the requests that we need to make from these folks?
By current on the request, do you mean monetary or grant?
I mean, like, all of the overtime stuff that needs to be turned in. I mean, we're paying these folks overtime, right?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay. Or buying equipment. Everything is current, and the amount that is stipulated or shown here, 443,000 is still out there available?
Available, yes. Mhm.
Okay. Frank? Nothing of that is encumbered yet?
Well, they asked for more.
Yeah. Well, no, I wanted that.
Yeah,
Of the amount that is shown here, it's still available for
Yes.
use by the,
right. But what's happened is that some of this cost has been incurred but not billed yet. And
well,
some of-
that's what I wanted.
Yeah, and I don't have a breakdown in front of me.
Do
but
you have
some-
an estimate?
No, I need, you can table it, I'll go back and get you something.
No, I just wondered, 'cause
As long as you let us know before we overshoot our landing.
No, everything should be billed by within the extension. If we get to December, 2013. And part of it, like I say, is stuff that's been incurred but not billed, and stuff that hasn't been incurred yet. But I can give you a more complete breakdown.
Well, I would like to encourage, I mean, if there is balances like that.
Right.
I know that there's items and equipment that can be purchased with this type of money if it's utilized for that type of enforcement.
Within the budget, what these grants typically provide is overtime, and it's not just for the sheriff's office, there's other PDs out there.
Right, yeah, constables and cities.
Also provides for vehicles, and I think where we're behind is on the purchase of some of the vehicles.
I know that some of the constables
Yeah.
need vehicles. This might be a
Right.
way to maybe help,
Yeah.
try to get the sheriff to help him with that, so.
But if you want a more complete breakdown, I can
No,
go
no, no,
downstairs
no.
and get you.
No. That's enough. Thank
Move to
you.
approve.
Right, and all of that equipment, excuse me, is billed on a all of those requests as they come in, those are billed on a reimbursement basis.
Okay.
As after the costs have been paid.
Okay, thank you.
Now, is it the same money, Martha, that pays for the overtime and the equipment, or are there two different pools?
It's the same grant, and they have different categories of
Okay.
allowed expenditures.
But we won't, as we get closer to the end of the year, we won't
We will not,
overshoot our,
We will not exceed categories as approved.
Okay.
And if there's any excess, if there's an additional GAN that needs to be processed, then
You'll let
the
us-
funding agency will be notified for approval.
thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign, motion carries. SS is consideration and authorization for Ford, Powell, and Carson to proceed to the design development stage of the Cameron County Courthouse assessment. Frank?
On this item, sir, there is a companion item dealing with a presentation of the courthouse assessment.
Would you like to hold this?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
until
we'll
after
hold the item
presentation.
until we get to the presentation. Thank you.
Double T.
Item TT, consideration and approval to establish purchase order cutoff date as determined by Commissioners Court for the current fiscal year with the exception of emergencies as approved by the county auditor. This includes grants also.
Commissioner, there's a clarification on that. It should be excludes grants rather than includes grants.
It's excludes here and it's includes on the agenda.
Exactly.
So it's a typo then.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And for clarification as well, in the past, the board has utilized August 15th as the cutoff date, so we would need direction on that date.
So I'd make a motion to establish the purchase order cutoff date of August 15th, excluding the grant-funded items
And excluding the emergencies.
and excluding emergencies.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Item WWW. Arnold?
Yes, this is just a renewal of the dental, the voluntary dental plan. The only reason why we pull this one out is because there is a change in the premium. I think Mr. Wethy's also here, and he can provide some of that information as well.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. For the record, again, my name is Ken Wethy, independent insurance consultant. On the dental insurance, I have a handout that I'd like to share with you. More information.
That wasn't part of this packet? Okay,
This is additional.
okay. This is where you use Arnold to hand it out for you, okay? Thank you.
How are you? Thank you.
This is the third year of a three-year contract. We went out for proposals on the dental insurance, and Emeritus agreed to provide a 7-year rate cap for year 2. This is going back to September 2011, 7% rate cap, not to exceed, so they could go up to, but not to exceed, a 7% renewal increase for the year beginning October 1, 2012, then an 8% rate cap for the plan year, policy year beginning October 1, 2013. That rate cap means not to exceed that amount, but possibly it could be lower. So it's important to go to the second page, which would be the claim history, where we match premium against claims to see whether they're within acceptable range to allow for us to push back on a rate increase. The 3-year loss ratio is 89%. In this industry,
Average.
normally you expect it to be in the 70 to 80% range.
That's the average for the 3 years.
Yeah, and when you're dealing, this is a voluntary insurance plan, so each year the individual can elect, do I want to enroll in dental or do I not want to? And so there's a risk factor to the insurance company, how many people are going to elect to have the dental insurance.
To enter.
Right now, maybe 850 out of your total group of maybe 1,900 are participating in this plan. The benefits are on the page, next page, and when we did the RFP, we asked for companies to provide benefits comparable to what we had, and we evaluated the proposals, and this was the plan that was selected. It's a limited, it's capped at $1,000 per year benefit. That may be low, and it also has some limits on a root canal. You can't have more than one root canal on a tooth in a 10-year period. It does not cover implants. That would be an enhancement to a plan. We will be scheduled to do an RFP next year, going on a 3-year cycle for dental insurance. And perhaps you may want to enhance the plan. Maybe you would want to offer a dual choice plan. Another option for the commissioners to consider is there is studies, articles written about the correlation between dental health care and health care. And perhaps you may want to expand your self-funded plan to include a core health plan to cover all employees, and then allow the employee to do a buy-up option. That would give you the opportunity to maybe restructure your contributions that you're asking for the employees.
Could we put caps on those limits as well?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And City of Laredo does that, where they have a self-funded health and dental plan, and they have a core plan that the city pays with limited benefits, and then the employee's option to buy up to a better plan. And I just...
There's not a whole lot of wiggle room, though, between cost.
11%?
Yeah, 11%. You know, if we're going to spend that much administering the plan. It sounds like you...
No, the insurance company says I need 8%, 10% margins for my administration. Then I got a risk factor for the unknown, and
That's why they deny the claims, to make sure they're making a profit.
well, now we come back to the loss ratio here, Commissioner, and they are, you know, for the year ended September 30, 2012, it was a 90% loss ratio, and the prior year it was 85%. And the year before that, it was 93%.
Yeah, so there's not a whole lot of wiggle room.
No. And so what this is very simply is just honoring the agreement that we had with this insurance company to carry out the third year of a program that we did the RFP process on, and Commissioners Court approved it to be reviewed on an annual basis.
Any other questions?
It seems that August is the month of choice for people to go to the dentist, according to these claims.
That's before they go off to school.
Right back to school.
Oh, there's no question. You got a big influx in July and August as you get ready for school. There's no question about it. So, I think it's a fair renewal, and they're honoring what they said they would do. When I came to them and asked them, to give us your third year renewal, and he said, well, we'd like to charge more, but I reminded them they had the rate caps.
Have they reduced their provider's choice?
They, yes. Now, on dental, there is no difference in benefits. It's the same benefit whether you use somebody in-network or out-of-network. It's just that there is no balanced billing. Now, the provider network is not as much of an issue for discounts. It's to some degree. But your question, are they reviewing their provider network? Yes, they should be.
So my dentist isn't taking this, it's just her choice not to take it?
That is your dentist not to take that?
Right. Is that what's happening?
I don't know why he
She.
said that. Now, when we do the RFP, we will compare provider networks, and that'll be
Okay.
coming up next year.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
No.
You recommend renewal, right?
Yes, I do.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. It is
Thank you.
approved. Next is YYY, which is consideration authorization to renew award of the following bids, RFPs for the following insurance employee health benefits.
Which item is that?
YYY,
Triple Y.
triple Y.
We're not crying.
Health benefits.
Yes.
The
yes.
big one.
This is very important. All right, now you do have my write-up on the health insurance?
sir.
All right. This is a good year for you.
Cost is coming down.
Yes. If we go to page page 3, we've been tracking the cost of your health plan since you changed from Mutual of Omaha to Blue Cross through Texas Association of Counties. And when you come up to fixed costs, it's been very, very, very stable. And then on paid claims, it's been moving up. We got industry trend. This year is probably in the 6 to 8% range. And when we look at your total cost for this year, for the first 8 months of this year, your costs are actually only 0.3% on a per member per month basis compared to last year. And last year, the increase was 4.8%, and that's below medical inflation trends. And so your plan's been doing good. The renewal offer from TAC Blue Cross, there's two options here. One would be to continue what you have now, and there would be a 25-cent reduction in the administration fee. And so that amounts to...
Per employee per month.
Say it again?
Per employee per
Per
month.
employee per month, not
Right.
per member, but per employee per month.
Right.
And so that would be an annual fixed cost savings of $4,900.
Have you add that to the budget?
Now, the other option is to expand your specific dental, your specific stop-loss coverage. Currently, and historically, when you looked at stop-loss insurance, you were looking at large catastrophic claims, and the industry, myself, didn't think that drugs were going to be that much of a factor. However, I did ask TAC to do a 3-year study of our large claims, and that's on page 2. And there's exposure there. And if we take a look at overall, the drug costs as a percent of the total claim cost for these 21 large claims that were more than $100,000 over a 3-year period, drugs only accounted for about 14% of the cost. I'm on page 2. But if we take a look at some of the large drug costs, for example, claimant number 7, which was a cancer, the drug cost as a percent of total was 42%, $63,000. If we come down to the next one, claimant number 9, that's multiple sclerosis, and that is very high cost drug coverage. And so the total percent for drugs on that claimant was 93%. So in a 3-year period, there was $125,000 paid on drugs for that individual. The next one was
11.
Infections, where it was 97% of the drug costs. Come down to claimant number 17, and that's diabetes, and that was 38%, or about $41,000. And then hepatitis. You know, you could have complications related to that hepatitis, but the drug cost there was 70% of the total claim cost. So, in my mind, to be a good manager, good stewardship on your self-funded health plan, I'm thinking this might be a year to expand specific drug coverage to include drugs. Specific stop loss has a $200,000 deductible, and within that, you would include both medical and drugs. And the additional cost for that would be $28,000 a year. Now, TAC for the renewal, it really surprises me. We have an additional cost item for the coming year under the Affordable Care Act, which I talked to you before about, which is...
So you're recommending option B?
Option B.
Okay.
And I want to bring into the record here that TAC will be paying one of the Affordable Care Act fees, this transitional reinsurance fee of about $182,000 this year. And I think that's remarkable. And it was explained to me that the board, the TAC board met, and they recognized the value of self-funded accounts and what can we do to
Keep them.
do something for our self-funded accounts. And so this is their way of saying, we're going to help you out for the year 2014. We will pay that fee. And so because of that, I'm saying you got a source of funding to allow you to expand and enhance your specific stop-loss coverage. So my recommendation would be option B, which would be to include drugs in specific stop-loss. Now, you've always had drugs covered under the aggregate, and we're just saying we're going to have a advanced layer of coverage, specific, and not have it default to the aggregate.
And you're also recommending that we allow them to pay the fees for us, right?
Yes, I said. No, I very much am recommending
And
let them take the lead on that.
are you recommending also the ER copay?
That's a call for the Commissioner's Court. I'm bringing that out. Monetarily, there's not that significant. amount
It's
of
really
money.
an emergency.
Well, I think maybe not monetarily, in direct cost to the plan, you know. I think that's minimal. I think that where the savings is on that is the utilization of the urgent care centers versus the ER.
Bingo, that's the study that we did on, and that would
Right.
send a message, and that would allow us to communicate with the employees that here's an option for you to consider. And it's not going to be a lot of money, the $10 going from 50 to 60.
No, I think it'd be more
But
significant
it allows
if it were
you to get the
25.
message to the employee on a one-item basis. This is what we want you to consider, is urgent care centers. And here comes.
Well, but we need to get the message out to them. I mean, because it's clear it's going to cost the insurance company a lot more for that ER visit,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah. You can save significantly because all you're going to have to pay is the copay for the physician.
What is our copay on the urgent care center?
It's the same
The
as a
regular
physician.
as a physician copay.
$25.
Right. So,
They
so
save-
if we really wanted to encourage the utilization of that, it would seem to me that if we went to like 75 for ER, which at the end of the day will be minimal if you go
Well,
to
now
the
I
ER.
want you to be careful of that because you want to retain your grandfathered status. And if we go up too much,
Okay.
the guidelines TAC has given us, if we move it
So
from 50
60 is the max.
to 60, we stay within
Within.
being able to be a grandfathered plan.
Okay.
And there's cost
Well,
advantages.
we want to
to
be
that.
grandfather.
Yeah.
Or grandmother.
Yeah. Any other questions on the recommendations by Mr. Wetty?
Move to approve, I guess, option B?
Option B, and then the urgent care,
To
or the
60.
option B with an increase in the emergency room from $50 to $60.
And I would just say that we need to make it a point to let all our employees know that. So they have the clear distinction that if you go to an urgent care, it's a 25 copay versus 60 if you go to the ER.
Yes.
Yeah. In that same notice of the increase, we
Mm-hmm.
tell them to encourage them to use the urgent care.
Yes.
And not to not go to ER when they need it, but to encourage, I mean, when we see the list of why they're there, you know, with an ingrown toenail, it kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Now, what's going to be important is we've got to separate an urgent care sponsored by a hospital as opposed to a physician's urgent care center. And
Because if it's a hospital, it's still going to be
then we get
60.
into a facility charge if it's a hospital.
I don't think we've had that problem.
We have not up to now.
Okay. So I don't think that-
I think we want to be careful in how we do the wording to the employee.
Explain to the employees.
Yeah. Motion?
Motion to approve with the second,
Okay, second.
yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Judge, we did the hardest part of the meeting.
Thank you, sir. Quadruple B, consideration and issuance of order approving the treasurer's June 2013 financial report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ken. Who pulled that? Isn't that the one you pulled?
No, I just circled it because it was asked to be pulled, but
Okay.
The only thing that I have to note on that is the affidavit date needs to be corrected. It shows that it was transmitted on June 11th, and it should be July, today, July the 18th.
Okay, with that correction, is it all right?
I'm sorry, what,
That he submitted the report to you on June 11th?
Right. I received it this morning,
Oh, okay,
but I
okay.
did see it in the packet yesterday.
okay. I guess I do have a question. On page, where it says monthly fund recap of check register, page 1. Is somebody here from that office?
David or Becky?
And this is just a curiosity question from me, not a, I don't know. Where that come from there? You'd figure, this one right here. The question that I have on the monthly fund recap of check register. It's kind of like let me see, the fourth page of the report.
okay.
Page 1, on Fund 390, Local Solid Waste Enforcement. It says there that we have $3,455,844.81. I'd like some POs to get rid of.
It's gone. Yeah, it's already been spent.
Okay, that's gone?
Right.
What is that amount? What is that money? I mean, what did we, huh?
West Rail.
Oh, that's a West Rail.
We were just holding the money there.
Well, it says local solid waste management. I says,
Yes. They put them in there and then we just,
why is it called local solid waste management?
well, because that is, for some reason, that account number was picked up by TxDOT
TxDOT.
to dump that money, and so we just move it out as soon as it's
Oh,
received.
okay, well, I was gonna look for POs, okay? Okay, move to approve, Judge.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Benavides to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed,
Aye.
carries. Budget amendments, line item transfers, and/or salary schedules.
Judge, can I ask that you go to item H? We have some people here that I wanted to make sure we talk after this.
Budget amendments are on page 1 for the health grant and Veterans Office. The Veterans Office received a $2,000 check from the United Way for the employment of a veteran. And so they are looking to utilize that money for extra help. Those funds have been received. The rest are line item transfers. You have emergency management, the county clerk, the records retrieval. Mr. Rivera's office is moving in his old records retrieval, which he has within his budget to use, $7,500 from salaries to extra help. The extra help costs have already been incurred, so that will cover the costs that have already been paid out as well. You have the Civil Division, County Court at Law 1, JP 5-1, the DA's office, M&O for the jail, M&O for the courthouse, the jail infirmary, $28,000 into professional services coming from prescriptions and hospital inpatient. They should have sufficient funding in there, even with that budget amendment. M&O for the Hester Building, Constable's Office, Precinct 4, the Sheriff's Office, and the Environmental Health. And then all the others are grant funds, except for PD&M on the last page, which is not a grant fund. Those are indirect costs, and they're seeking to utilize that. They have already generated the indirect cost.
You recommend their approval?
Yes. You have a salary schedule for PD&M where they would be utilizing the indirect cost, and that would be effective September the 1st. Cost generated on one of their grants. For your approval.
Move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa to approve 3A. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, carries. Let me jump over to item H, consideration approval of a resolution supporting the continuation of Valley Metro Route 45.
We have some folks here, Judge, that would like to.
Judge,
Yes.
Commissioners, Maribel Contreras with Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council Transit, otherwise known as Valley Metro, is here, and they're going to do a short presentation with some of the other folks that are here with them.
Did they bring the bus?
And just as you all go up, just introduce yourselves individually for the record. Thank you. And who you're with.
Honorable members of the commission and honorable judge, my name is Maribel Contreras. I'm a planner with Valley Metro. Also here present is Rosie Cuevas. She's our program administrator. We also wanted to recognize some of our partners for the project Route 45 that we have here present. We have Tracy Wickett with United Way. We also have Kara Alcacer with Harlingen San Benito MPO.
Thank you. Tracy needs no introduction. Are you going to go first, or who's going to go first?
No, I'm going to go ahead. And if needed, I'm going to go ahead and start a presentation just to give you more information about the project.
Thank you.
Well, let me go ahead and start. This is in request for continuing support for our Route 45. I'm going to go over a little bit about Valley Metro. Valley Metro, we are a regional public transportation. We provide services in 3 counties, Hidalgo, Cameron, and Willacy. We are a department of the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council. We have 16 routes throughout the Rio Grande Valley. We serve rural transportation outside the city limits, and we also serve urban transportation inside the city limits. We have connections to work, medical, shopping, and other locations. Our goals for Route 45 are to expand public transportation throughout the valley and to create a seamless network. Implement innovation, transportation services, and a multi-modal solutions. Build strong community partnerships, enhance public resources and assets by connecting the valley one ride at a time. For Route 45, it's a flexible route that we have. We have 2 buses running. One starts in Harlingen and the other one in Brownsville. It goes through Harlingen, San Benito, City of Los Fresnos, and Brownsville. It also connects campuses from UTB, TSC, and TSTC. We did start this project as a pilot project in January of 2012. It has proven to be a great success, exceeded all performance goals. Our project partners is Texas State Technical College. We also have the Workforce Solutions from Cameron County, the City of Los Fresnos, United Way, UTB, TSC, Harlingen San Benito MPO, Los Fresnos ISD, and also Cameron County. Our Route 45, as you can see, there's the map where the route goes through. We do have 2 buses running, as I mentioned earlier. One starts in Brownsville and the other one in Harlingen. Our service of operations for this routes run through Monday through Friday from 6:15 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. We do have the 2 buses running. The route is a flexible route. What that means is it's able to deviate from the route up to half a mile if requested. Our fares are $1. We also have a discount fare, which is 50 cents. It's for students, elderly people that are over the age of 60, if they have a disability, veterans, children under the age of 7 ride for free. We also have a discount pass. It's 20 rides for that pass. If they end up paying $1, they end up paying $10 for that pass. So if they purchase the pass, they end up paying 50 cents. And then for the discount pass for the 20 ride, if they pay the $5, they end up paying 25 cents per trip. For our performance measures, since our project started in 2012, we've exceeded our goal. As you can see, it's listed there for our monthly ridership. We had 975 for our goal. We actually exceeded the goal that we had. It was 3,138. Our riders per hour, our riders per mile, and cost per hour. So we've exceeded all our performance goals. Also, there's a chart for the monthly ridership from 2012 to 2013. For 2012, we had 32,432, and for 2013, we're projecting to have more than 50,179. That's going to be an increase of 54.70%. For funding, we're here today because we would like to request funding for 1.5 years to cover the salaries, fuel, oil, maintenance, and repairs, and all other operating capital costs to run the service. We are requesting a federal match of $140,000, and then the local match required for $140,000. We do have a match per project partner. We have 7 partners, and we're requesting $20,000 from each. That concludes the information that we have for Route 45. If there are any other questions.
Any questions? Martha, the amount of our match of 20,000, how much of that is already budgeted, or have you factored that into the coming year's budget?
The states, it's a continuation, so I know that we have a budgeted transfer to the bus system. I believe this is something separate, correct? So we would be able to factor it in the budget right now.
This is
However-
the same as we
No,
paid,
it's
it's the
the
same.
It's the same?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's the
we would
same.
have it budgeted
Yeah.
then. It's in there already then.
The only difference is that in 2012, we had requested 13,000, but this time, since it's for 1.5 years for operating, it's 20,000.
They're
But
doing
it's
it-
pretty much if you divide it through the.
It's $1,100 a
it's
month,
the same.
Yeah.
roughly.
Right.
I think it's well worth it, quite frankly.
Right. Mhm.
All right.
Move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides, any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Claims.
Claims, I have payroll dated July the 19th for $1,632,579.69. Warrants number 304287 through 304577. Warrants number 304579 through 304829. Numbers 304834 through 304958. I also have contracts, which I would request the court approve those for release on July the 25th, unless they want to release them after today's meeting. Those are warrants number 304959 through 304995. I also have ACH medical payments that were done for $197,394.72. Warrants number as voided would be 303237 for $500. That was a check that was issued to HEB. The vendor does not accept checks for more than $250 to purchase gift cards, so that check needed to be voided. Warrants number 303810 for $450.70. The employee was not traveling, so that check needed to be voided. Warrants number 266112 for $70. The check got lost, so there was a stop payment issued for that check.
Do you recommend approval?
Yes, and I'd like to point out that the gift cards that were requested to be purchased on the first void that I read in, I believe that check is for the divert court, which uses those as incentives for compliance with divert court guidelines.
Any questions?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa to approve claims as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Minutes, May the 20th, the 23rd, June the 6th, 2013, special, regular meetings. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Carries. Item D, consideration and authorization to I'm sorry?
Table D.
Oh, I've been asked to table item D. Item E, discussion regarding the fiscal year 2013-2014 budget.
Judge and Commissioners, I had emailed out some information to you yesterday and also placed it before you. I kind of want to go over the budget calendar real quick, and then we'll talk about the budget. We received 3 sets of preliminary values from the appraisal district. The final certified values we should be receiving sometime next week. For the next scheduled meeting, we'll have the effective rate and the rollback rate prepared, scheduled to be published on the 4th in the newspaper. On the meeting of August the 8th, we'll have, the court will have to schedule the public hearings for the setting of the tax rate. On the August 8th meeting, the court will also have to decide what the maximum published compensation will be for elected officials, so that way that notice can run in the newspaper on the 11th. On the 22nd, we're scheduled to have the public hearing for the tax rate and the actual setting of the elected officials' salaries. or compensation. Then that'll trigger if there'll be a grievance filed by the elected officials, and if necessary, we'll have a grievance committee hearing scheduled for September the 2nd. The final adoption, I right now have it scheduled for September the 12th, 2013. If you notice, beginning in the month of August, we'll need to have meetings every week in order to stay on track and have it adopted by the 12th. It coincides similarly with the schedule that we've followed for the past several years. I don't know if you have any specific questions on that or not. Okay. If you'll turn to the next page, this is where we are as of yesterday. I took off the stuff from the prior year and some of the stuff that was on the last one. What I have here is the current revenues. These are still preliminary. They're not the final revenues to date. Those are the expenditures where we're at. Transfers stay the same, in and out. The transfers in are coming from the bridge systems and from the parks. Those are still being evaluated, so those are still set as the same as this year. So with the current revenues, there's a shortfall of $1,037,000. Right next to it, what I have done is based on the last values that I received with a July 1st date by the appraisal district, I went ahead and calculated using those values, using the current tax rate, what that would generate in additional revenues. And as you'll see, there's an increase of, it's about $1.6 million. So what that would do, assuming everything else would stay the same, would leave in excess of just under $570,000. Now, what's not factored into that is, because we haven't received the amounts that are the increased amounts that are applicable to properties that are within the TERSs. So that would be backed out. The prior valuation that we received in June had a valuation increase of just over 4%. It was about 4.2. The ones we received in July, they had dropped to 3.7. I anticipate that they'll probably drop a little bit more based on history, because there's still several properties that are under protest. And so, as I mentioned, by next week, we'll have the certified values, and we'll be able to give you the definite numbers as to what that would mean. And that is already backing out the amounts applicable for our current debt requirements, and then the split is still kind of the same between the road and bridge and the general fund. What is not included, of course, still within the budget, is all the requests on the next pages as far as new positions, extraordinary salary increases, I guess something that would be different from anything that the court may approve. I also included there, the judge had asked for what it would cost if the court decided to give salary increase to employees, and this is just for the general fund of $1,750 and $500. The road and bridge below that, currently it's balanced, and if using the current values, the same as above, there's an excess of $230,000, which I imagine would go into road materials. What I'd like, I know on the next page, the court had mentioned this actually at the last meeting, in reference to the probate court. There was a request from each one of the courts for 3 positions, and there was a discussion or mention that the court had agreed to fund one of these positions.
One division,
right?
Those 3 in it.
Okay, if y'all would formally, if you are ready to formally do that, that way I can kind of get that out and include it in the budget already, so those numbers are already taken into account. And also if you're agreeing to the salaries that are being requested here.
Would there be office space and other budgetary requirements?
That I don't, when they requested this, I don't know what their plan was as to where they were going to house them, because they were each asking for 3 employees. So I don't know where they would be housed. If it's going to be one, if they're going to be floating, or there's going to be under one, I would imagine maybe the administrative judge of the county courts, they would be signed under him, and then it would maybe work that way. But I would imagine, since they are three individuals, that they're going to have to be housed somewhere within that building. So there would be additional costs required as far as for equipment and office space.
But
So
have
that's
we
not the total
scheduled
cost.
them to start as soon as
That's the thing,
October
that
of
had to
this
be.
year?
Yeah.
They are?
We had talked about that,
I thought it was going to be next year.
to start with the fiscal year.
Yeah, it was discussed when the legislation was being proposed and when it would start and what have you. But y'all would have to actually, decide if
But
you
the
wanted them to
idea
start
is-
October 1st or
The
January 1st.
idea was
or
to
whatever.
create that division,
Right.
not to create three
Right.
of each position.
So I don't know if you're ready to
I
act on
think,
that, or if you want
I
to
think
wait.
I think you book the three positions, the division.
Right.
One set for all three county courts of law.
With the
For now.
salaries as requested?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, for now.
Okay, I'll do that.
As far as the space, I mean, if they were asking for 9 people, now we're whittling it down to what, to 3?
Correct.
We'll find the space.
Okay. I guess as far as the other positions that are being requested, I have them there for the record because they were requested by the individual departments. The county clerk was asking for 3 collections clerks, the veterans service officer, for benefits clerks, 2, JP5, 1, Sally Gonzalez, 1 clerk, sheriff's office, 3 dispatchers and 5 deputies. Constable Precinct 2 is asking for 3 deputies. Environmental Health was asking for an animal control officer, 1 animal control officer. So none of those things have been factored into the budget as of yet. And then, of course, there are all the increases on the following pages that are being requested by various departments. I would like to point this out, though. It would be, as far as on the general fund salary increases, it would be the second page that on the highlighted. There's 2. The district attorney's office is not requesting salary increases, but what they're requesting is for the general fund to pick up the supplements that are currently being paid out of Fund 900. And the sheriff's office has 2 positions, 2 lieutenant positions that had been approved by the court to reclassify them to lieutenants, and then the difference in pay was being paid out of the Fund 900 forfeiture funds. They are also asking for the general fund to pick up those 2 supplements, so that way they would be 100% funded out of the general fund. So they're a little bit different from the other requests that are there, so I just kind of wanted to point that out because I wasn't sure if that was clear. The revenues are continuing to be reviewed. We should have final revenues for the next meeting. And so we'll have the certified values and the final revenues, and we know exactly where we're at and get direction from the court as far as any other additional requests or anything that the court may want to consider. I don't know if there's any kind of information that the court may want also for the next meeting.
Are you
or-
factoring in the amount to replenish, if we decide to replenish the fund balance for the litigation?
500,000?
Uh,
Or actually, it's 4, right?
It's whatever,
Right,
yeah, whatever we
I
took
can't
out.
remember what the total amount was. No, I don't have that factored in yet. I mean, in essence, it would depend on where we end up at the end of this fiscal year, if it's going to have an impact or not. If we end up with excess, then it may be a wash or.
What if we factor in at least replenishing half this next fiscal year and then half the following year?
Yeah, how much, I guess we got to recollect or remember, what was it that we took out? And the reason we did it was to complete
pay
the
cash for all the
acquisition.
equipment.
Yeah, for all this equipment.
Right.
It was like 280,000, wasn't
We had 500,000 there
correct.
originally, we've had there for a number of
Yeah, it was
years.
approximately, it was around 300,000.
That we
That we
took out?
utilized, yes.
That was utilized. We got 200,000, I mean, I would recommend that we bring it back up to at least 300,000.
Okay.
If we don't use it, we don't use it. Well, the point is, we set it up for unless you all want to just wipe it out completely.
Yeah, it's completely up to the court whether that's.
You know, if you all want
or
to.
not.
Why should we have that fund?
Well,
I
it's
mean,
not
we
a
had
separate
it-
fund.
we-
It's just, it's within the general fund, it's just designated.
I know, but
within
why
there.
should we have that?
So if there's a capital case that we have to,
We've already had those, you know, and we barely we didn't go to it.
Yeah, well, and I guess you have to go back. You know, the general fund balance had been dropping, and so this is like, in case this is segregated out.
Yeah,
And
but
so
it's
regardless
not-
of here.
But it's been,
Right.
the shift has
It-
occurred in a
it's been
different
going
way.
up, yeah, after,
Why-
over the past
I don't think
several
we
years.
had I think we don't, you know, I mean, what we have in the fund is what we have, and I would not support putting more money in that fund.
And that will, probably in September, there'll have to be we have to come to the court for the designation of the fund balance and see if there's something that needs to be restricted or committed. And so you'll take official action on that in September.
Look, our goal should continue to be to comply with the policy that this court set years ago in terms of days of operations. And we're not there yet, are we?
We were just shy of it. I think
Right.
we were at 57 days.
Okay, we need to get it to the 60 days just to be in compliance with our own policy. And if whatever, not forget what it costs us to operate a day. Is it 50,000, 47,000? I forget what the number is, but what I think that if, and I don't have a problem, you know, taking away from that fund balance and putting it in the general fund, but I mean, in the general fund balance, the unrestricted part, but we need to get to that 60 days. Whatever it is we have to do. And we've come a long ways, and, you know, we're almost there. Let's do it.
I'd rather put it in the fund balance than in a reserve fund balance for that.
And that's fine. I've got no problem with that. So I think the goal should be to, when we adopt the budget this coming year, that the general fund balance is at 60 days of the expenditures that we're budgeting. That's got to be the goal. I mean, we're almost there. Okay?
Okay.
And that helps us all the way around, from bond ratings to interest to everything else. Okay? What else?
Anything else?
Anything else of
So I'd
excitement?
rather see that go to that.
Okay. So no additional information that y'all need for the next meeting, or I guess you shoot me an
Well, if any
email or
commissioner has any
anything
specific questions, just have them get with you.
Okay.
Okay? Anything else? Do I hear a motion to acknowledge?
So moved.
By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Let's go back to item D and just ask that it be officially be tabled.
Move the table.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item D is tabled. Item F, discussion and possible action regarding the allocation of office space at the Harlingen Annex. I've been asked that that item be tabled. Is that correct?
No?
No, I don't think so.
Yes?
Who's tabling it?
Sheriff, I think that one's okay to table? You all have resolved that issue? It's been resolved. Do I hear a motion to table?
So moved.
Moved by
Wait a
Commissioner Benavides.
Has the item been resolved? David
says
Garcia's
yes.
working on it.
Oh, David Garcia, you're working on that. Okay.
Well, I don't know who has to table it, but this issue has to do with office space in Harlingen, and I know the sheriff's got some space there at the Harlingen Annex, and the next item on the agenda may be related as well to it. Basically, there's several requests being made for office space there at the Harlingen office.
Can we do both together, F and G?
Sure.
And right now, the sheriff has an office at the Harlingen Annex, and he had another office, is my understanding, and he has relinquished that office, and Mr. Rivera is requesting the office that is in the front of the Harlingen Annex building that is being used by the sheriff.
Well, hadn't we worked on an office there for you, Mr. Rivera? And fixed it up and,
We went over and at your request that we extend our operation to Harlingen, and we remodeled one of the office for the collection office. We didn't get much support from the JPs in that area, but now it's different. Just to give you some numbers.
And you're talking about the centralized collection process?
Correct.
Okay.
The office with the window.
And just before you go on, just to make sure, in your request for new employees, where you're asking for 3 clerks, it's for this program?
Correct.
Okay.
For the collections department, so that we can have a collection and a phone area so that we can call people to come in and pay. But just to show you how much it's increased, and people are being sent from La Feria, from Eloy Cano, and from even from Benny Ochoa and Los Fresnos. Just in June and July, they sent over 250 people to San Benito. And that can be, if we open the one in Harlingen, instead of coming all the way from La Feria and Harlingen, they would just have to go to the Harlingen. So. What's that?
No.
Well,
not today.
Not today.
No, but
for the new budget year.
I brought,
For the new
right.
budget year.
Well, I brought that up because when we were talking about being in compliance with the collections effort, that it was going to require probably some increase in personnel in order to make sure everybody was in compliance. And I just wanted to verify if the people you were requesting was for this
the program.
department.
For this program, also, at the request of the JPs, they wanted us, and it was your request, that we send out notices for the people that did not show up for the arraignment part of the.
And they are showing up.
Correct.
As part of the collection effort, y'all would take over doing that?
Yes, sir. Odyssey, with Odyssey, you can do a lot of things, and that's what we plan to do.
Sure, because I think Net Data was doing that for the 2 Harlingen JPs. It was sending out postcards. So that's something that was, I think, instrumental in them collecting the amounts that they were collecting. So the idea was we want to continue that process.
Yes.
And that was one office. The other office that was next to that was the representative's office.
Correct.
And I know that Oscar Longoria, who we had offered the space to, was waiting for the end of the session to open up his office.
Why can't they go, well, does the sheriff still need that office? Look, there's 2 offices, and we had three people that wanted it, the state rep, the county clerk, and the sheriff. I think we take care of our people first. If the state rep wants to do something, you may want to check, see if we have any office space in the La Feria building. No? So when the JP office closed, that JP took over double the space?
No, there's office space in La Feria.
Is there? Okay, that's what I'm saying, that maybe we could put the state rep there if he needs. I don't think he's got a problem with it.
Is La Feria in his, I don't think
La Feria isn't in his precinct.
It's not in his district.
In his district. I think he
Okay.
wraps north.
Well, I still think we take care of I mean, if the sheriff wants to relinquish that office space and give it to the state rep, that's fine. I mean, but if he needs it, then I think we take care of ours first. I mean, other state reps are not using county facilities. They're using their own, they're paying their own, or whatever. So I think we just take care of Mr. Rivera and Sheriff Lucio first.
Thank you.
So is Mr. Longoria, does he cover the Harlingen area?
Part of it.
Yes.
He has Harlingen, Santa Rosa.
Part of it.
So,
He goes western Hidalgo all the way across to.
Riondo is included.
but not San Benito.
Right. It's like a northern belt of the county.
Okay, what else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. So in conclusion, then the consensus is county clerk gets the office with the window to do that, and the other office stays with the sheriff's office unless he doesn't want it or doesn't need it. Sheriff? Okay. All right. That's what I think. Okay.
We'll just relay the information to the state rep.
Okay.
Can we open one up? On the other side, there's a constable's office that has like 4 offices within it. Maybe we can designate or open up a door, and one of those offices, if we can, use the space, because I don't think the constable uses all of the offices, because he's got a big office in La Feria, and then he's got, I think, 3 or 4 there. Maybe what we could do is designate one of those offices, open a door, look into that, David, and maybe what we can do is either let the sheriff use that office in lieu of the other one, or just put the state rep in there. I mean, he just needs one office, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That could work too, maybe.
I mean, the whole idea from the time that we planned that building and built it was we included the state rep in there. That's the only reason that it's come forth. It was Terra Rios in the beginning. She had an office there. Well, before that it was Juan Escobar. He had an office in there. Terra had an office in there. And then,
Right.
it's been in limbo because of the session going on. So,
We'll look into that option.
Because I think there's office space there that can be utilized.
I'll talk to the constable.
The main thing is to get the county clerk situated.
Right.
That's the main
he
thing.
needs it because
So the other stuff we can work through, giving preference to the sheriff's office to use that space, or maybe give him the option of the other one if he wants to use the other one instead of, and then call the state rep and see. What I understood, it didn't matter to him, whether he had it or not, that was not a big deal. But you may want to just confer with him again, before we start spending money.
Okay.
Okay?
definitely.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve as discussed, giving the county clerk the office space that he needs specifically, and then allowing the sheriff to utilize that office, coupled with David speaking to the state rep, see if he wants to utilize one of those extra offices at the constable's office? Moved by Commissioner Garza. Do I have a
Second.
By Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
And
opposed?
is
Item
that
carries.
going to be item F or G, Judge?
That'd be item F and G.
And G, okay.
Both of them, okay? Thank you. Item H has been done. Item I, consideration and authorization to hold a public hearing regarding the revision of order adopting rules of Cameron County, Texas for on-site sewage facilities preamble. Do I hear a motion to open public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Garza. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We're in a public hearing. Mayor,
How you doing?
how are you?
Judge, Commissioners.
Are you here as an employee or public?
I'm actually here as an employee, just in case anybody
right.
has any questions in reference to the order. I oversee that program.
Okay, we are in a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to make a comment? Do you have anything to comment about?
I just want to let the court know that this is a good move to make. I believe that there were some changes made to it based on the state regards to TCQ. They recommended some changes, but there was one amendment that I believe would be a better section to the community, to be at a healthier environment for the community. And if one of the sections was basically that any commercial establishment that opens within Cameron County to have an actual water source approved by TCQ. So basically, any establishment that has any type of a water well that is not approved by TCQ or an approved water source, before we finalize our on-site sewage facility program, permit, we will require a letter from TCQ giving us the approval that that water well does meet the requirements of the state. Because at this time, we don't have that.
Thank you, Gus.
What does that do, Gus, for, like if a business wants to relocate and there is no water source other than a well, as you say, how will that delay, or how much more time will that be for that particular entity to be able to go through the permitting process?
Basically, it will take a little bit more time going to TCQ to get the approval. It could take up to, our process, it goes pretty quickly, but I know the TCQ approval might take another couple of days or so. But
If they
do meet
the water source.
Yes, if they do meet the
So if they
requirements.
don't certify a water source, You know, I mean, this is not potable water we're talking about. This is water to be utilized in their system, right?
Right.
I mean, why do they have to certify that particular, I mean, I'm finding it difficult to understand why we need another layer of bureaucracy in the process of trying to get a permit for someone that could be in a remote part of the county without a utility providing it a water source.
The reason that we're doing this, Commissioner, is because these people will be serving the public. And as a health department myself, I believe that if you're going to be serving the community, I want to be assured and assure the county that they are providing a safe water to the community, to the people that are going to be visiting that business.
You know, I don't know what safe water would be for a septic system.
No. The reason that is being part of our OSSF order, because we're the final department, basically, before these people are allowed to move into the actual business, to open for business. So we asked the state, and the state approved this. They gave us the approval to go ahead and add this part of our order, since we are basically the last department to give the final approval for a business to open.
And what is the difference between this and residential?
Residential doesn't require any type of water monitoring because you are the owner of the residence, and if you choose to drink water that is not for yourself, that if it's not suitable for your family, that's basically up to the property owner of the house. But when it's a commercial establishment, whoever visits the site has no
idea that it's a well water versus...
Exactly.
I just, find it a little hard to.
Well, what if it's a business that's not going to serve the public?
There is some they have to meet certain requirements. Like if it's a small business, it doesn't, there's some exceptions that TCQ does have. If it doesn't serve like 15 or 20 people per day, within 6 months out of the year, they're able to meet that exception. But if it's an establishment that's going to be seeing 50 people, 60 people a day, they will require to have this test done by TCQ.
See, and my issue is like there's some like small little convenience stores that open up, for example, and they're going to have to go through a whole. I mean, if they don't have a good water source that is acceptable by TCEQ, what option will they have?
Actually, if the water source is not suitable for the public, they can't open.
We're kind of like
for the public to drink, or
to wash their hands, to come in contact with. The TCQ doesn't say they have to drink it, as long as you make any type of contact with the water source. Even if you go to the restroom to wash your hands, or they're required to have that requirement.
So you're going to have a public bathroom. You need to have, and in order to have a commercial permit, you need a public bathroom?
Right. Yeah, you need to have restrooms for the employees and also to serve the public.
I guess so. Back to Commissioner Garza's question, what would be the actual process? I mean, how much, for lack of a better word, red tape is it going to take for a business owner to get the permit?
Okay, this is what we're doing at this time, and just so I could explain to you a little bit how it's working at this time. What we do at this time when a business comes and opens a business here at our office, and we work with legal, and they have to sign a letter saying that they're possibly in violation of a state law. So when they sign for it, they're saying that they're not going to hold the county accountable for it. They sign off on this letter. So what we do is we contact TCQ and say, hey, there's a possibility that this business is in violation of the state law. So what they do is they go and do an inspection on this business at a later time.
TCEQ does?
TCQ does.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to avoid is a business that we give the approval to open,
Being
and then
shut down by TCQ.
3 months later gets shut down by TCQ, and we say, you should have told us in the beginning that this was going to happen. So what I'm trying to do is try not for a business owner to spend $100,000 on a business that could have a problem in the near future.
And what it is, so they would just test their water before they get the permit, basically is what happens?
Basically, when you serve the public and to be an approved water source, you have to make your own water. So you have to be testing the water at a regular basis, submitting reports to TCQ.
Pretty elaborate.
It is a big step, because it's like, you're gonna be you're manufacturing your own water.
How many people have TCQ shut down after they got permit by the county?
We have reported a couple already.
Shut down?
Not shut down, but we have reported to TCQ, and at this time, TCQ is investigating some of them. They do get a letter of water availability when it's a water company, but when it's a well, there's nothing in place right now that if somebody goes to the building department and asks for a permit to build a commercial establishment, they ask them, okay, what do you have? Well, a water well. Okay. And it's up to the court. If we still need to, I would recommend that we still approve the order, because we're mandated by state to do the changes, and if the court decides, we could leave that amendment out and continue with the approval of the order as is, because we're mandated to do it.
Any other comments?
They're requiring us, TCEQ is requiring us to amend our rules.
TCQ is every other year the state does changes to the orders. The amendment part is based on statute changes that have changed throughout the state. So when we get audited every year, like for example this year we got audited. They said, okay, you need to update your order, bring it up to compliance as of this year. So we had the entire year this year to do it. So the only reason we have to have a public hearing, is because we're adding that more stringent rule to the county. So if we leave that stringent rule out, I would recommend that we approve the recommendations of TCQ that we have to update for our next audit.
Okay, is that section 10?
Yes, it will be section 10.
Okay. Is section 10 a requirement statutorily that we approve?
It's not required that the court approve it, but it's an actual state requirement that it's in place already for these businesses.
Yeah, and by us giving people or the business a letter, that takes care of what we are required to do.
According to Dilbia, long as they sign the letter saying that they're not going to hold the county accountable for anything in the near future.
Right.
At this time, I believe that is correct.
All of the other sections, 6, 9, 12, and 16, are just kind of like, things that we have to do.
Yes, minor changes that the state.
But 10 is the only one that
Actually, 10, section
12.
amendment 10, and it's actually the section D.
yeah, but it's section 10 amended. D is the designated shall not.
Right, because we do have other stringent rules in place. If you look at A, B, and C in place that the court adopted in the
Yeah, they're already there.
Yes.
Those are there.
So you've only had two situations where it's gone back and been undone?
No, I didn't say that. Well, we said that TCQ is investigating a couple of them. If you recall, maybe when they started building all these buildings with game rooms throughout the county, they started bringing up these red flags of these water wells, because they were doing them in areas where there's no public water. So we do have a lot of buildings at this time that are eventually going to be occupied, maybe something else to eventually serve the public, but that's what brought a lot of these changes.
So all those buildings, now TCQ has to go back and check them?
We forward that information, yes.
And if they don't check them, then we don't have a problem with it as a county?
At this time, we don't,
As
we
long as we have
wouldn't.
a signed letter.
Right.
which
From
we
the
do.
individual.
Right.
I say put the monkey on TCEQ, not on our back.
So at the time that they applied for a building permit, we did not, I mean, is it up to the building department to let them know that they were going to have to go through this? Or is this brand new?
It's actually, ma'am, it's something new that we want to adopt, for the reason is that I put myself sometimes in other people's shoes. And if I come to the county and they give me the approval to buy a property and buy a structure and invest $100,000 into my business, and then 3 months later down the road, TCEQ comes and tells you, we need to shut you down because you don't have an approved water source. And at one point, I believe that the county should advise them and.
Well, but we
and-
do make them sign a letter
Now we
saying
do.
that they understand.
Yes, now we do.
That's a possibility.
So
And I-
we
and I guess I'm
advise them,
referring-
I'm sorry.
I'm referring to all those buildings that you say that went up with all these arcades. Now, are we going to be in trouble with them?
Saying they understand.
We started advising some about halfway through the process, when we started looking into this matter and with our legal department.
So before these little arcades went up, this was never an issue? The county?
Right. It was something that was, at the county level, it wasn't an issue.
And the arcades are probably commercial businesses that had a lot of patrons coming through there.
Right.
Well, I guess on an annual basis, how many permit requests do you get for commercial? Within the
When
county.
the arcades started coming along, we started getting a lot of them.
No, but let's just, because Luis Science has pretty much shut those guys down.
We have health permits, and just health permits itself is over 300 and some in the county.
For commercial buildings?
Right.
In the
But
county?
a lot of those are through public water systems, which is East Rojando or El Jardín Water Supply, or the majority of them.
Any other public comment? Do I hear a motion to close?
We've got one more, Judge.
Chuck? Always waiting to the last minute.
Only thing I wanted to do is clarify about those structures for the arcades. Most of those buildings were built as something else and then converted to arcades. And so the water that they are using in those were maybe for a warehouse, didn't meet the same requirement, but now we're serving multiple patrons, so it becomes an issue. Because if those people drink bad water, then they're probably going to get sick. And that's the point he's trying to make.
Thanks, Chuck. Anything else? Do I hear a motion to
We
close?
got one more, Judge, you bet.
Ugh.
I just like to add that the general public relies on government for safe drinking water. And, you know, someone like yourselves or myself, we might just get abdominal cramps if we don't have safe drinking water. But it really does make a difference to those individuals that are, you know, immunocompromised, to our infants, children that are sick, and, you know, and parents rely on government to try and enforce safe drinking water.
Well, they make certain assumptions when they walk into a building that is open and operating, that it's a safe building to be in, their water's safe, you know, it's ADA compliant, et cetera. So they make a lot of assumptions that they shouldn't be making.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Do I hear a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
By Commissioner Benavides.
Second.
The second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, item carries. On the next page, consideration and adoption of the order adopting the rules of Cameron County, Texas for on-site sewage facilities preamble. Are we ready to act on that?
I move that we approve section 6, 9, 12, and 16 changes only, and continue the process on section 10 that we've been doing, and that is issuing or having them sign a letter telling them that TCEQ can go look at them.
Will that satisfy the requirements?
Yes, at this time, that's what we're doing.
All right, motion by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries.
I'll vote nay on that one.
Okay. No, Commissioner Sanchez is nay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to table items K, L, N, O, and P? Yes.
Not M, M just is. to
No,
be
not,
done-
not M.
Oh, okay.
N, O, P. So table K, L, N, O, and P. Do I hear a motion to table? Sometime today.
What? I didn't listen to you, I'm sorry.
For the third time. Do I hear a motion to table item K, L, N, O, and P?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. On item M, to be discussed after executive session. Item Q, consideration and possible action on request by family of Oralia Andaverde, deceased, to exhume the body from the San Pedro Cemetery to another cemetery under the authority and in conformity with the procedures set forth in Texas Health and Safety Code, Section 711.004. Removal of remains.
Yes, Commissioners, Judge. We were in communication with the Garza Funeral Home, and we were advised that the surviving family members of Oralia Andaverde were requesting that we consent to an exhumation of the remains to be reinterred in another cemetery with other family members. It appears that financial considerations at the time of her death required her burial in Santa Rosa Cemetery. The statute...
Santa Rosa or San Pedro?
I'm sorry, San Pedro. Okay. The statute allows remains to be disinterred with written consent of designated family members and the cemetery organization operating the cemetery. In the case of this cemetery, the county fits that designation. The funeral home is lining up the family members and confirming that they're all in agreement, and if they can satisfy the requirements of the statute, what we're asking for is this commission to authorize the county judge to sign the consent once we confirm compliance with the statute and state reporting requirements.
Any issue? Any issue? Moved by Commissioner Garza. Do I have a second?
Second.
By
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Sanchez. Discussion?
What gives the county the authority if we are not the owners of that cemetery?
Because it's one of these historical cemeteries, it has older graves. We fall in a category where the county is the one that operates it. This is the one where we have the lady that does the arrangements for various burials of indigent and pauper burials. We've been operating in this way for many, many years, and there is no other cemetery organization that fits this definition. It is, in fact, the county. Because the family members are in consent under the terms of...
Who owns the property that this cemetery is on?
I don't know. I know that the county has been operating it under the auspices of the authority delegated to that individual lady. I don't know the actual ownership. I know that we are the operating entity. There is
So we
no
have an
other-
agreement
Yes,
of operating.
I believe so, yes.
With who?
I don't know.
Well, it's the lady that runs it, isn't it?
Right.
Mrs.
That authority was delegated to her
By
ago.
whom?
by County Commissioners Court. At some point
I
in the
guess,
remote
but
past.
Commissioner Garza wants to know, did the owner of the real property ever give the county authority for us to do that, or have we just been planting by adverse possession?
I don't know. This has
Lots.
been, yeah, this has been in place for many, many years, and the lady that helps the county with this, her husband did it for 20 or 30 years as well. That's so long ago, I have not researched that issue. I know that as a matter of routine practice, the county has been in
Has
in
been the
authority.
one.
Peter, I think you might be able to add something to this, or if you can catch Yvette before she leaves. I know that she's dealt with this cemetery for many, many years.
Correct. We've looked at it several times because it's San Pedro Cemetery.
Right.
I believe it is the county's. I would have to check, and I'll go back with, I guess, GIS and engineering to find out who owns the property. The way it's worked, that family came to Commissioner's Court, and I remember it was, trying to bring, before legal, before Bruce, I guess, Richard Burst was the one who handled this. The family came over, the Commissioner's Court sitting at that time did give permission for them to handle the cemetery. So it's not just for the indigent, but any family that wants to bury a person in that particular cemetery, they go to that particular family. I can't remember the last name of the lady at this time, but basically that's the way it's functioned. I'll double check on whether we own the property, but
Well,
my
I just
understanding
want
it
to
does
make sure
belong-
that we don't have a body exhumed from the cemetery and then another family member comes up and then says that we're responsible because we gave permission.
Right, and that's
And-
why we're looking very closely at the family members authorized to consent under the statute. It has a priority listing. The funeral home is going through the process of confirming that there is no surviving spouse and of confirming that all of the deceased surviving adult children are in agreement, and they will all be signing on to the consent.
So we could approve it, condition on, conditions precedents being,
Right, being confirmation of the legal statutory requirements and the reporting requirements to the State Department of Health are all compliant. Once we determine that that's all in place, then what I'm asking is Commissioners Court authorize the judge to sign on to it.
and we're doing it because we've been the operators of this cemetery for years.
Yes.
Regardless of where that authority may have come from.
Right.
By prescription, we become
We would have
the
to be,
operators.
and we've operated in that way, making decisions of allowing that lady to operate it. So yes, we're the operator.
Okay.
Judge, Commissioners, I believe Richard Walker, a couple years back, researched the ownership of that property, and I think the county owns it. But I'll check again
Was
with
it on the
Richard
tax
Walker.
rolls?
So,
We
We
maintain
have
it.
to own it to maintain it.
yeah,
Right.
I believe Richard
Not
Walker looked into it.
necessarily.
I'll ask him.
If it's in my precinct, yes.
I think you probably have some, there's cemeteries all over 281, principally the old area. You see them lined up all over the place. Most of those are privately owned by families. This one, though, somehow the county got into it decades ago, and the family's name is Cardosa.
That's right.
And it was Mr. Cardosa that ran it for back since the 60s or 70s, and then he passed away. Then his wife took it over upon his death, and she's the one that I guess operates it. We have nobody at the county that did that.
Right.
So I think you need to just confirm that we do own the property, and I think there's a written agreement somewhere,
Yes.
but it was way before any of us were here, if I
So
remember
what
right.
we would need to do is confirm the ownership of the property.
She would have the agreement.
Right.
I bet you.
And she would need to be consulted with the actual details of the disinterment and notified that people are showing up and doing it. We'll confirm statutory compliance and ownership, and if you approve it, we'll move on from there.
I would move to approve upon conditions precedent being
Yes.
confirmed.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Do you have anything to add? This is on the San Pedro Cemetery. You know, we've talked about this cemetery for
San Pedro.
every time, I mean, a lot of times. You might want to explain the indigent burial because, that when people come to us that need our assistance, is that the only cemetery that is used for indigent burial?
No, sir. Basically, what happens is, what the county is responsible for is preparation and burial of the body. It's basically the funeral homes work with the families. There's several cemeteries out there that will accept and will not charge for the opening and closing. Some will. So that most of the funeral homes already have agreements with the cemeteries they use. Some are owned by the funeral homes that people are going to apply with. So yes, I mean.
Because anyone can be buried in that San Pedro Cemetery.
Not anybody can be buried because the county, I guess, in the sense of relinquish the rights to that family, the Cardosa family. So they're the ones who I guess, makes the decision who gets buried there.
Well,
And that's what complicated, I guess.
But that's not what happened the last time. I remember somebody wanted to be buried there, and she wouldn't do it unless I signed off on it.
Well, and it's.
We have to authorize,
The dispute on that was because the funeral homes were not communicating with her and confirming where the location of the next plot was. They were just bypassing her and showing up. So at some point in time, they put a gate with a lock, so people couldn't just show up and do it. The reason she told me about that is that she's required to report to the state that people are being buried in a particular place in the cemetery. So they were causing her to be having difficulties with.
Does anyone know how many cemeteries the county owns, other than the one in San Pedro? And that's assuming that we own it. Anybody know?
I would say
I think
none.
GIS, in fact, I went out with Gabby to look for one way out there by the
511.
river. She's been tracking all of them down over here to, the old El Mesquite place.
Yeah, is she
off
gonna,
of
is she gonna
511.
provide a report or something to how many we have, or?
I'm not
Well,
really
there is
sure.
information already that, I guess through GIS, we've gotten information as to which cemeteries are out there. To say that they belong to the county, no. I don't think the county at this time owns
I think she just
any
identifies
cemetery
it.
aside from the one that's, I guess, in the understanding of San Pedro, that the family oversees.
Well, maybe
but
wherever-
To our knowledge, we do not have any.
It never becomes an issue till there's an issue.
Yeah.
So I think we may want to pursue that, not only tracking once you identify, but let's see if we can track down who actually has the title to that property.
Keep records,
who owns
because
it.
that issue came up not too long ago, well, maybe a few months ago. Someone had brought up the issue of, well, who cleans and maintains these cemeteries, or who do we hold accountable for doing it? And, you know, that's something we kind of never got resolved, but once we determine who owns them, then we can impose upon them to clean them, or maybe they'll turn them over to the county for indigent use. I don't know. Then we can have the prisoners clean them.
Families can apply to open cemeteries in their own properties, and that's a process in itself. But correct, once those families pass away, who takes ownership, I guess at this time, and I'll work with.
Kind of like the one across this parking lot here, right? I mean.
Yeah.
We'll have to look into that. but-
Okay, well, let's do that. Just get back to us, I mean, I don't know, 90 days or 60 days, whenever you do that, okay? Had a motion, a second.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, carries. Item R, discussion and possible action to design and construct additional vehicle parking at Andy Bowie Park.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning. This was brought up last week, or at the last meeting, there's been some discussions on whether we should, or whether we could add some parking lot or parking area to north of the Hilton, between the Hilton and Andy Bowie Park. I just want to get direction, because what we need to do is get some permits off, permit applications off to the Corps and to the GLO, whether we want to do this.
Javier, what's the second page that you have a picture of there?
Which one are you looking at?
I'm looking at the second, this one.
Okay, that one there is the parking lot that, or the area that's leased to Thor Lassen. And what they did was,
Well, that's not an option.
no, I understand that, but what it is Clayton had their engineer design this parking lot for that property. So what I just did was use that.
Same size of the
Same
parking?
size, right.
How many spaces?
100. I think it's
100?
100. Yeah, 100
It's 100 parking
spaces.
spaces.
How many handicap?
I'm not sure on the number of handicap, but we would have to meet whatever those requirements are, the ratio between the number of regular and the handicap.
What kind of ramp do you look at putting from the parking lot to the beach?
Well, my thought was that we'd build it out of wood, just a low profile.
Kind of like Isla Blanca?
Right, just a low profile one, and then as we go up the dune, then we'd have to go up, of course, ramp it up.
We've had a couple of kids got run over in the last couple months, right?
Yes.
In fact, one was this past weekend.
One fatality.
So, I think Andy Bowie gets filled up. This other parking over here that's in the picture, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, doing this would provide families access to the use of the park where there's no vehicular traffic?
That's correct.
I think we need to do this.
And what's happening is people are parking across the street and then walking across
In
the highway.
Thor's spot?
Yes.
Yes. And even in the area north of where Thor, what we leased to Thor,
Yeah, that's what it is.
Now, how big of a, can we
charge?
yes.
Yeah, we can charge.
Can we use a kiosk instead of a person?
Right, we could, instead of manning it, we could have a kiosk.
You know, like at the Tame Park where you just swipe. Have you looked at revenues?
No, sir. No, I just wanted to
Have
get.
you looked at cost?
Yes, I did look at cost. We've, just right now, if we were to do it now, just to put caliche down, if we cement and stabilize it and then put caliche, it's gonna be about 57,000. Then if whatever material we put on top, if the GLO will allow us to asphalt it, then I need to figure out what that's gonna cost us. But right now, if we were just to put caliche there, it would be 57,000.
And caliche will work because it's asphalt, I mean, it's porous?
Yes.
That's GLO standard?
Right.
And the ramp, have you?
The ramp would be wood.
No, cost.
Oh, cost, I haven't come up with that either. I need to get the distance from the edge of the parking to the beach.
And how many spots?
There's 100 parking spaces.
So if we did what do we charge over where you drive your vehicle in?
It's $5 to enter and then the $5 for the bag. So it's
And to park over here at the pavilion, what do we charge?
At Andy Bowie, we charge $5.
$5.
And at Isla Blanca, we charge $5.
Be $5.
But we wouldn't have any restrooms here, right?
That's right.
You're not planning on building facilities, it's
No,
just parking.
Just parking and access.
So if we charge, let's say $3, $3 to $5 range, what kind of revenues are we looking at for the summer?
I'd have to, I mean, there's 100 spaces.
About 54,000 for 3 months?
I mean, I'm sure we'd have it full.
How many spaces are the hotel and Clayton's willing to pay for on a regular basis?
We could approach, Clayton and
because
Hilton.
this is going to be, look, right now, that hotel cannot accommodate weekend weddings or weekend functions.
Events.
Because if it's full, you can't accommodate the overflow.
Right.
So they might be willing to work with us.
To guarantee? Or we pay them on a per-use basis?
Also.
In other words, if they give their patron a swipe or something, and then they cover the cost? But I don't know that we can, I don't know that we can tag it to the hotel. I think for purposes, we're looking at beach access for patrons where there's no vehicular traffic. That would be the public, attraction. And as far as on the cost, talk to them to see about if they would be interested in either guaranteeing reserving, but can we let them reserve spots? I mean, if they don't use them?
Those are Javier issues.
They'll be.
Well, regardless of their participation, I mean, I think we need to do this parking lot to give access to families where if you got little ones, I mean, I think people end up going to beach access 5 and 6 because maybe they have no alternative. Here, this would be the alternative, right?
It would be. It would be. And there's other functions that happen at the convention center that there's an overflow of parking that we could accommodate.
Well, but I think for purposes of building a parking lot there, it's got to be public use for the beach.
Okay.
And what we charge has to be to maintain it, not necessarily to profit.
Right.
But I think, if during the season we charge, during the high season, that should be enough to maintain it.
And that's what we do at Beach Access 6. We only charge during the summer. And then during the winter, it's just left open. And, people drive on the beach.
So you need approval from us to move forward with it?
So we can start requesting permits, getting realistic numbers on costs and so on.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Presentation, do I hear a motion to table presentation 4A?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item B, presentation and discussion of Cameron County Courthouse Conditions Assessment Report by Ford, Powell, and Carson.
Judge and Commissioners, Cameron County and the Texas Historical Commission partnered a while back to commission the firm of Ford, Powell, and Carson to conduct the architectural assessment study, which is currently taking a look at the damages to the Dancy building that include the terracotta windows and roof. This part of that
Can we
process...
say wear and tear instead of damages?
Sir?
Can we say wear and tear instead of damages?
Okay.
It's not going to change the dollar amount, so you call it whatever you want.
So I guess before I introduce the representatives from the firm, I only need to point out that this part of the process, which is the assessment, is fully funded. We're paying $188,000 for this part, and it will result in actual plans and specifications for the repairs. The next part, which involves the rehab, there currently is no budget for that.
And how much is that?
It's approximately $1.74 million. To present the report, or this part of the report, we have Carolyn Peterson and Allison Chambers.
I didn't bring a big old book with me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm a principal. I'm Carolyn Peterson, a principal with the firm of Ford, Powell, and Carson, and have been working on the restoration of historic buildings for many years. I'm delighted to be in this wonderfully restored room here for the council, and enjoying how beautifully it has been restored and maintained. We've, of course, as you've been told, have been looking on the outside of the building to try to establish what has caused the problem with the terracotta. It's been interesting because one of the things that I found out over 30 years ago working on a building with terracotta on it in Galveston was that being that near the water makes it a lot harder for the terracotta, and it's not because the terracotta is affected so much by the water, it's the iron that connects the terracotta to the building. And once steel starts to rust, it expands 10 times its size and it needs somewhere to go, so it pops its surroundings. And that's what apparently was the original problem with the terracotta and what is kind of a going on problem. In our looking at the overall situation with the terracotta, it's been very confusing and frustrating because we're used to knowing what the problem is from the date of it being built, but some of this is not the result of, but the fact that some of the restoration that was done previously stopped a little short. It was like running a marathon and getting within the last mile and then stopping. So we'll go through and show you the problems we found and some of the specific issues, and we also have some alterations with the issues. We've also looked at the windows and at the roof, as you all requested. We have a group of people on our team that have been supporting our effort. We have, of course, there's Ford, Powell, and Carson in our office. Structural engineers of Sparks Engineering, they're excellent specifically in working with historic projects. And we have Jeff Kubis with us representing them today. We had the roofing consultant of Jim Whitten, with us on the roof, looking at all those issues and identifying them. And we have then reviewed the work with the cost estimator. And we've had work with the restoration mason, who I've known since all of my professional life. And I actually worked with his father before that to talk about how to deal with some of the issues with the terracotta. The engineers, the structural engineers, have done a very wonderful analysis of the problems with the terracotta, and so I'm going to ask Jeff to take you through what they have found.
All right, thanks, Carolyn. Let's see. Okay, my name is Jeffrey Kobus. I'm with Sparks Engineering. As Carolyn said, just a quick background on the company. We started in 2001. We're out of Round Rock. And our specialty is the evaluation and assessment, as well as the repair and rehabilitation of historic and existing buildings. We've been involved, for example, in the restoration of over 25 of the historic Texas courthouses. We've also completed projects with Fort Powell and Carson recently in San Antonio. We worked with the stabilization of Mission San Juan, as well as the monitoring and assessment of Mission Espada. As far as this project goes, we focused on the structural support and integrity of the terracotta. So it involved really just getting up and close and personal with the building. A lot of visual observation. Our goal was an arm length type of survey where we could get really close and touch the building, be able to see as many units as possible. It involved 2 visits, actually. The first visit, we were mostly on the ground and at the roof, didn't have access to a lift that could take us high enough. And then the second visit, we had an access to a lift to take us to the second and third story and the underside of the cornice to really get a good survey of it. We used a handheld metal detector to scan the terracotta and detect steel, and it also would give us an indication of whether it basically returned a magnetic or non-magnetic signature, which would give us an idea if it's stainless steel versus plain steel, as how we'd call it. So we took all of our observations and we compiled them all onto an elevation, 4 elevations, 4 sides of the building. And so this is what you have in your assessment report. Those are pages 21 through 24 of the assessment report. But basically, as you can see, all the red on there is locations of existing cracks, problems with the existing terracotta. There's green on there, which shows kind of large areas of new terracotta, and then some blue are displaced units. So kind of a quick overview shows that a lot of the distress is on the lower level. It appears that was not addressed in the 2000s restoration, the previous restoration. Scrolling through here to the west, the south, again, a lot of on the lower elevations. What's not shown here and is updated based on the second site visit is we did detect more cracking along the second story than what's shown. This elevation shows what we could see from the ground in our initial visit. So let me run through the main primary issue, which really is corrosion. It's corrosion of the steel. Just as Carolyn said, whenever steel rusts, it expands and it's got to go somewhere, and it cracks the terracotta, the masonry, things around it. So the items that are causing the problem are steel in the lintels, which support the masonry over openings, steel in the form of pipe, which is supporting individual terracotta units as well as tying back terracotta, security bar embeds down in the basement openings, as well as some reinforcement that's in the concrete that makes up the basement walls. So let me run through real quickly just some of the specifics. For lintels, this is really kind of what you see. One of the main things you see when you walk in, if you see a large crack, it's right there along the first floor. As you can see cracks along the face of the lintel units. And that is caused by the expansion of the steel in the lintel. We counted 23 or 36 openings at the basement that have corrosion related to the lintels, 14 of 60 on the first floor. One thing to say about the first floor, you can tell there were places where the steel was replaced, or the units actually were replaced in the past, and that was pretty obvious with the darker lintels. The presumption is that the lintels that are cracking now were not cracked in the early 2000s when the previous restoration was done. Otherwise, they would have tried to fix it. So that gives an indication of the rate of progression. Our experience is that steel slowly, it basically escalates in how quickly it corrodes. Once it initiates and begins, it escalates more and more rapidly. And so we're in a rapid stage of the corrosion happening, and then therefore the resulting distress. Going back to the number, 17 of the 40 openings in the second floor had lintel damage, and 3 of the 4 on the third floor. Quickly about the third floor, this picture doesn't show up too well. Hopefully you can make out a little bit, but the third floor was primarily addressed in the previous restoration. But it looks like the way it was addressed was to try to clean and treat the steel that was there. The central terracotta units were removed to get access to the steel, but the very ends where it's bearing on the walls was not adequately exposed to be able to thoroughly clean it and paint it. And so what we see is, let's see if we can get this going here. On this side, this unit over here is an historic unit that was not replaced. Here on the left is a new unit, and there's a hairline crack that's beginning to form there at the bearing end where it was not able to be treated. And that's where we're starting to see in a lot of these areas where there was, where they were treated but not fully replaced. This also is a significant issue, the pipe supports. This picture here is from the modillions. And the modillions are like those shoebox-shaped pieces of terracotta that just hang under the cornice. So when you go outside and you look at that big ledge sticking out, there's some big boxes that hang down every foot or so. And those are the modillions. Those are supported by this piece of pipe, each one. And that is where, that's the cause of all the cracks of all those modillions. We did not detect any of those pipes that were replaced. And so it appears that unfortunately, that will continue all the way around as that pipe corrodes. And so when we made the assessment, over 60 of the modillions were cracked. And so that represents about a quarter of the modillions that are there. Down at the basement, the security bar embeds are corroding. That's a pretty obvious to see, or obvious to detect when you see the security bars go into the wall and a crack emanating out of the embed. 19 of the 34 window openings are damaged by corroding embedded security bar embeds. Some other issues, there is some corrosion of the reinforcement in concrete lintels at the basement. This is really isolated, but really when the reinforcement gets close to the surface, you get some spalling of the concrete. There's delamination of the concrete on the ceiling of the porticos. That means the concrete's kind of starting to peel away, likely from long-term or previous leaks in the roof of the porticos, and that's just led to rusting of the reinforcement there in the concrete. Some failure of the sealant joints between the terracotta on the parapet, so back up to the roof, between the terracotta units, that sealant's just peeling apart. And then finally, there are concrete elements in isolated places, mostly around the attic grills, but a few in the porticos. It looks like they were installed to replicate the terracotta, potentially as a cost-saving measures in the restoration, but that's not confirmed. So what are the recommendations? What needs to happen? The main recommendation is to replace all the embedded steel with stainless steel to remove the thing that's causing the problem. That involves the window and door openings. So down here at the bottom we have the lintels along all the windows. It involves the modillion supports, which are these little squares there. That's the pipe supports. The portico openings down at the entries, and the attic surrounds there just in the parapet level. All those are locations of steel that should be addressed. This is a long-term solution. Again, it removes the source of the problem. good thing is that it appears that 100% of the structure supporting this 3-foot ledge around the cornice. So up here at the very top of the building, there's that ledge sticking out. That structure appears to be both, we saw it as well as the drawings show some I-beams that stick out every 8 feet or so. Those are replaced with stainless steel, as well as a continuous perimeter steel angle that was stainless steel. So that's been done, and potentially there's isolated window lintels that have been replaced as well. There are some alternative solutions that can be considered if it's not full replacement. One is selective replacement, just replacing only the areas that are visibly damaged. That's kind of a maintenance type of solution, because as long as the steel is there, it will continue to corrode. And just like we've seen, those items that were not replaced in the first restoration are continuing to crack now. Another option is to clean and paint, and that's difficult to, that provides some time, provides some benefit, but it's difficult to get to all the areas and thoroughly do it to the point where you can be sure that it's going to take care of the problem. A couple other recommendations before I pass it on to Allison or Carolyn. We would need to repair the portico ceiling, repair the sealant joints, and then replace the concrete units. That's more of an aesthetic thing, but if the coating's taken off, those units will pop out because they're gray concrete. So thank you very much. Let me pass it on to Carolyn.
If I may ask, how much longer would you have in your presentation? Because we're going to have to recess this meeting and open up another meeting.
We were working within the amount of time that we were told.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got about 2 minutes,
Okay.
maybe 3.
Yeah, we can.
Now, with the other options, we can kind of hold off on your final presentation, open up the meeting, go through that meeting, and then come back to you, unless you have a fast plane to catch.
No,
You're-
we
you're-
just have to catch the thing
We
at
have
the
like an
airport.
hour.
You're burning daylight.
The red eye.
So do you want to, because this meeting will probably take about 15 minutes?
Move to acknowledge report.
Should take about 20 or 30 minutes. If you can wait, that we're good.
Okay,
Move to
we'll
acknowledge
wait.
You want to do
presentation.
that? Okay, let's do
Strange,
that.
but we'll do that.
So there's a good break, and then we'll come back to you. I'll try to run the other meeting quickly.
We have a special meeting.
Do I have a?
Motion to go into special meeting.
Do I have a motion to recess our regular meeting?
So move.
Moved by Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor to recess, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. This is a meeting of the Cameron County Healthcare Funding District, Thursday, the 18th day of July, 2013. It is now about 11:02 a.m. Meeting was posted pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Notice was given. So we are in this meeting now. Public comment. Action items. Consideration and authorization to hold a public hearing on the amounts of any mandatory payments that the Cameron County Healthcare Funding District Commission intends to require during the year and how the revenue derived from those payments to be spent. Do I hear a motion to open public hearing?
So moved.
By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. We are in a public hearing. Peter, since you're the one that's kind of been doing all the grunt work and the good work and all that, so your show.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Judge, Commissioners, for the record, in compliance with Senate Bill 1623, the district approved on July the 5th meeting to advertise notice of public hearing. Advertisement was done via Valley Morning Star and Brownsville Herald on July the 7th. That was meeting the 10-day posting requirement for the public hearing.
Any comments from the public?
Judge, Commissioners, good morning. First off, thank you very much for accommodating us this week for this public hearing. We absolutely appreciate not only the time, but the effort and the responsiveness from y'all and your staff as well. Y'all have been phenomenal, noting the time constraints and restraints that we're playing with. Having said that, Judge, I'd like to I'd like for the record to reflect that, in fact, every single local hospital provider is represented here at the meeting this morning, at this public hearing. Having said that, I'll use a bridge to introduce Carlos Zaffarini, who is representing the consortium of local hospital providers, to go through logistically what the next steps might look like, Judge.
And we know who you are, but your name for the record?
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I'm Manny Vela with Valley Baptist Health System. Thank you.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Carlos Zaffirini. I run a company called AHCV that provides consulting and services to hospital providers across the state. We represent currently all the providers in Cameron County and working with them not only to implement SB 1623 and to design it, but also to get it going here at the local level. We're very grateful for all of the effort that the county has put into making this a reality. It's a major opportunity really for Texas, not just the Valley. But again, thank you so much for that. I think Manny and the other hospitals wanted me to speak to what the timing of this was, what needed to occur, and go through some of the numbers that have to be evaluated when looking at what the rate for the mandatory payment would actually be. We've been dealing with the Health and Human Services Commission now for the last 2 weeks and trying to identify what the actual amount of funding available to the Cameron County providers actually is. After looking at those numbers and reviewing them and getting some comfort level, it appears that the most beneficial mandatory payment rate would actually be somewhere in the range, actually be 2.1643%. So with that, we would respectfully request from the commissioners consideration of a mandatory payment at 2.1643% of the net patient revenue available to the hospitals. If that were to be approved, the timing would be such that the mandatory payments would need to be collected probably in the next week. Yesterday, the state of Texas issued their timeline for the first half of the year and indicated to us that the payments needed, the intergovernmental transfers that would go to fund the supplemental payments, is due on July 26th. I know that's short notice. We had been requesting dates from them for 4 weeks, and they never responded until, I think it was actually the day before yesterday. And July 26th is the day that the money actually has to be transferred. So with that, we would look to the district for guidance as to how you would want us to process those payments if in fact you were to approve the mandatory payments. So with that,
Is that 2.1643 per quarter, per year, per?
The way that we were hoping that it could be implemented is that we would do it based on the federal fiscal year.
Okay.
And so it would actually be, that rate would be in place between now and the end of September. And then we could come back later on in the calendar year to or the first part of federal fiscal year 2014, to reassess what the most beneficial rate would be for fiscal year 2014.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Just because I don't know, just a question real quick. Where does this 2 point ... come from?
Don't we have to do it?
Where did that number come from? Why wasn't it 3 point something or 1 point something?
Yes, thank you, Judge. My name is Matthew Stone with Valley Baptist Health System. The number, what we base it on, Judge, is there's a certain amount of intergovernmental transfer that we could send up to the state that they would send to HHSC and match and bring down uncompensated care funds for us. That number is approximately $16 million. And with that, we base that upon the net revenue as stated by the hospitals to HHSC in 2010, which is approximately $750 million of net revenue. And when you divide the 16 million by the 750, it comes out to that.
That's with the 2 point, okay, very good. All right.
Judge and Commissioners, I just want, the Commission, I want to remind you again that that rate is basically for half a fiscal year. So when you come back for the new fiscal year, it's going to probably be a little bit more than that.
Well, that number's going to change annually.
Yes, sir.
Or, right?
We're just going backwards, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We just got to tap in what we can before the 26th.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, but we as a county aren't really doing anything. This is something that you all are doing. There's nothing that we need to be cutting over to you guys or to this.
No, I think that
you all are doing all that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're just providing them the vehicle.
Right.
Okay. You just give us the money and we forward it.
Not exactly, no, sir. I think there's the reason we had to go through Senate Bill 1623 was to implement a mandatory payment structure that is broad-based and uniform and consistent with federal guidelines. One of the prohibitions that exists from the federal standpoint is that we can't just give money to a community and say, here, transfer the money up. We have to have a mandatory payment infrastructure built around this, and we're doing it on a really fast level. If you look across the country, there are a few communities that have implemented a hybrid version of something like this. In Phoenix, we're doing it. We're involved very heavily in Phoenix and putting that in place. In Mesa, they're doing the same thing. In Philadelphia, and I think in Tucson, they're actually looking at the same kind of concept. The difficulty of this is looking at the CMS regulations, the federal regulations that they put in place to say, this is how you can implement a mandatory payment in your community. So we can't just grant the money to you or provide it to you. It has to be a mandatory payment that is not voluntary, but actually required upon all the different providers.
So we're mandating it as a commission.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
And everyone's willing to comply because
Yes,
it
sir.
benefits everyone, especially our community.
It helps
All right.
build the safety net.
This is a public hearing. Any other representatives that are here would like to make a public comment at this point, or you just punt it to these guys? Got it. You know what silence is, right? Silence is concurrence. All right?
Judge, I would like to ask those representatives that are out here to stand up and identify themselves and which hospitals they represent.
That would be good.
Yeah, because your voice doesn't really.
My name is Susan Andrews, and I'm the CEO of Valley Regional Medical Center, and we fully support this initiative. So we appreciate your time, and again, we appreciate you all holding this meeting today on our behalf. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners Court. My name is Carrie Montalvo. I'm the CEO of Solera Hospital, Brownsville and Harlingen, and I also appreciate your work on this effort for us. We agree with what is taking place today. Thanks.
And I'm Mary Valdez. I'm the COO at South Texas Rehabilitation Hospital, and I too support this effort here.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is David Glasper, and I'm the CFO of Harlingen Medical Center. And please excuse my voice today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, there's still a public hearing. Anybody else wish to make a public hearing? A public comment? Do I hear a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Public hearing. Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa to close. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item 3, consideration and adoption of the Cameron County Healthcare Funding District Administrative Rules.
So move for
Edgar's
discussion.
passing out the final rules that were given out. Yesterday, we did send out an email with a copy of the rules. There
Are
were
these
minor-
any different than what you sent
Yes,
out?
we do have minor changes, about
Okay.
6 changes in there. Let me go through it real quick. On page 2, on Rule 5, third sentence down, there was a typo on the word "and." On page 3, second sentence, it read "once" and now it reads "one."
On which one?
On page 3, second sentence, letter B, right from the top. It used to read "once" and now it reads "one." No later
At
than
least
the
one
10th day.
notice.
So they're typos.
Yeah, that was a typo. I guess it read once, and we decided one was better, so.
Okay.
Page 4, on Rule 14, we removed the brackets from the second sentence where it says "no more frequently than."
Okay.
And then we added the sentence, "The commission of the district may specify the percentage of annual payments to be paid in each quarter." That was added. And then on Rule 15, letter A, the last sentence where it reads, "although the amount may be updated frequently," that was added. And then page 5, Rule 16, the first sentence, remove the brackets from "be used to." A mandatory payment may not be used to hold harmless. We just remove the brackets from that one.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Aside from that, they were just typographical errors.
Correct.
All right. Moved by Commissioner Gatsa to approve and adopt. Do I hear a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item 4, consideration and possible approval of mandatory payment to be assessed quarterly on the net patient revenue of an institutional healthcare provider and how the revenue derived from those payments is to be spent.
Judge Commissioners, we believe that the requirements of Senate Bill 1623 have been met and support the quarterly assessments of the mandatory payments. With that, I'll allow Carlos to speak on behalf.
Thank you, Commissioners. We do request that the county, or the healthcare funding district of Cameron County, implement the rate at 2.1643 for federal fiscal year.
You know, it doesn't feel good to mandatorily require anyone to make payments to anybody, but in this case, I move that we do.
Second.
Since you all want this.
And we're grateful on behalf of the safety net system.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Sanchez. Discussion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, item carries. Item
Judge, can we table item 5, please?
Okay. On item 5, do I hear a motion to table?
So moved.
Will this in any way, shape, or form not allow us to fulfill what we want to do by the 26th?
No, sir, because we're hoping to have a meeting next week, and we will address this issue. It might be a little bit different.
Yeah, if everyone is all right, let me ask that we hold another meeting Tuesday at 8 a.m. If y'all can make it,
Yep.
then we can clear this out.
The only way I might not make it is if I'm at the hospital. Because my wife's about to give birth, so.
Well, we maybe can do something about that, Commissioner.
Let's hold the meeting over there.
Delay that a little bit if we need
Okay.
to.
Just have her hold it.
And Judge, just for the Commission's information or education, the reason that we're holding the meeting next week is to conclude the drafting and execution of affiliation agreements between all the local providers in the county. Valley Baptist has affiliation agreements with the county right now, but we will now be creating affiliation agreements with this district, so. Okay.
That was moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Sanchez to table item 5. Item 6, consideration possible approval to designate BBVA Compass Bank, thank you, ma'am, as the depository for the Cameron County Healthcare Funding District. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
By Commissioner
Second.
Gatsa, second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Nothing else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
By
Judge,
Com-
want to ask,
Commissioner Sanchez.
has the treasurer been brought into this?
He knows.
As far as what's going on?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that everything's in place.
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay.
Moved by Commissioner Sanchez to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Gatsa to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. We are adjourned. Do I hear a motion to reconvene our regular, thank you, guys.
So moved.
Move to reconvene our regular.
Our regular meeting by Commissioner Gatsa.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. All right, we will proceed, and we have TiVo'd your presentation, so we're good.
So you actually want to continue listening to us, right? Okay.
Well, yeah. All that money, we're going to get it.
Well, okay, in picking up on the terracotta, where's the thing I push? Just tell me what to push. Okay. Yeah, there's several places around the building where the existing terracotta in that previous restoration was replaced with new terracotta, and one of the things that they did was use a dark grayish brown color that doesn't really match any of the other colors on the building, which we never have been able to quite figure out. Which is the point? Which one? Oh, that one, okay. And there's an example. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see how much darker and gray, blue-gray sort of those look. And in many cases, a lot of those pieces were put in with a very white mortar next to them, which makes them even mix better, or stand out better. And we don't want them to stand out that much, and apparently they put a coating over the whole terracotta to get it to blend in better with this, and now that coating is starting to deteriorate. So that whole issue is very complicated, and we may end up having to remove all of the coating they put on it and maybe tone these dark ones down a little bit. But anyway,
do you know, do original pictures show them that off color?
we haven't found any original ones.
You haven't
no.
found original pictures after it was completed?
After it was completed, yeah, don't we? No? I don't have. We haven't been able to find any in the,
we may
the
direct you
THC didn't have any in the ones they gave us either.
We might direct you to our architect of record then.
Oh, yes.
Who was Mr. Reese, because I think he had extensive pictures of, you know,
Yes, we can do that if you direct us. So we felt that sort of an awkward situation, you know.
because I don't remember seeing that big of a contrast back then.
Yes. I would be very surprised if the original colors shifted. Because terracotta, once that stuff is fired, those colors stay pretty much the same for a long, long time, you know. Things have been dug out of the ground that were several thousand years old, and they're still, well, we think, the right color. We don't have any pictures, but we assume. But anyway, I now want to turn over to Allison Chambers, who's one of my wonderful preservation team members at the office. And she's going to bring you up to speed on the work, the analysis that was done on the windows and the roof, and take you through the cost estimate on the project. So, Allison Chambers.
Good morning, Commissioners. I will try to be brief for everyone's benefit. This building has 150 windows, and some are original and some were replaced in the previous restoration. We surveyed both the inside and the outside of the windows and made visual observations, took photos, and had survey forms for each window. And we also sounded all of the wood using a screwdriver, looking for areas of rot and termite damage. And so this slide just shows typical basement and first floor windows. And here's the second floor and the third floor windows. So after completing our survey, we found that 85% of the windows have some form of deterioration. This slide shows an example of a window wood rot. You can see the screwdriver was able to penetrate the window all the way to the interior. And
I like that scientific method.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you have to get past that paint layer, especially when it comes
Well,
to
you know
termites.
that nobody took off those little stickums for months after you all left. They were on there on windows forever. People asked, "Can you take them off?" I said, "Don't touch them because they're historical. So don't."
Oh, right,
so leave them alone.
exactly. Yeah, they're part of the character of the building.
They are.
Apologize about that. So we found that 73% of the windows have exterior wood rot of some form. And overall, the deterioration of the windows on both the interior and the exterior is localized at the bottom of each glass pane. So this image shows in red where that occurs. There's two reasons that this is happening. One is because at some point, parts of the wood window have, through expansion and contraction, moved and shifted and cracked the paint, and so water is finding its way into the wood and causing the rot. And two, being in Brownsville, we have a lot of window condensation that occurs daily. So that's causing the paint to peel and allowing the water to get in. Condensation, as you may or may not know, forms on glass when warm and humid air comes in contact with the cold surface of the glass, and then the excess moisture of the air condenses. Based on the condition of the windows in this building, that's happening year-round, as I said, winter and summer.
We don't have winter here.
Well, that's true. That's true.
It's always summer.
It's always summer here. Yeah. So this photo shows the interior condition when the condensation occurs on the interior, and it sits on the sill. After a while, it begins to peel the finish. So this is happening. And here's what it's doing on the exterior. That's showing you some of the peeling paint. And part of the reason is that the air conditioner in this building is kept very, very cold, and so it's exacerbating this condition.
We just need to raise the AC.
A little bit, yeah. I would recommend that. Tricky, touchy subject, I know, sorry. And so normally.
Is this on all floors or just in a particular?
All floors.
All floors? Okay.
All floors.
Thank you.
Normally when the sun hits the building, the water will evaporate. But on portions of the building where they remain in shade for the longest portion of the day, the water's not able to evaporate, and so Red Raider. So we also found evidence of termites on the first and second floor. This shows a picture of some termite wings. It's hard to tell in this picture, but there's termite wings on some of the interior sills. And then we also, actually, while I was sounding, some termites flew out at me, which was exciting. And the picture on the right shows when we were sounding, that window before we started looked perfect, but behind the paint, it was completely hollow from termite damage. So that's an issue. 60% of the windows have cracked or missing glazing putty, which is what holds the glass in place. I don't know for certain, but I'm assuming a lot of this putty was replaced in the previous restoration, and this is quite soon for this to be deteriorating. So that's an issue. The photo on the right shows where one piece of glass is actually completely slipped out of place and is letting air into the building.
Well, how could that have happened after 6 years?
That is a very good question. I've never seen it.
That's my big question about all this.
Yeah, it's very strange.
More importantly, how could it happen after what, 17 million or whatever?
Yeah, a lot.
So, this is a similar issue. This shows the perimeter sealant, which is the joint between the wood and the masonry, is also failing in some locations, not as many, but it is. So overall, recommendations for the windows, unfortunately, at this point, are a full restoration, means sanding the wood, repainting, repairing, replacing rotted wood. It's also developing a seasonal maintenance program to where the windows are examined and treated for issues that occur, and then also a termite monitoring and treatment plan, which I know the county, I think, already has in place, but they're little nasty bugs. They get everywhere. So transitioning to the roof, we worked with roofing consultant Jim Witten out of Austin, who we have worked with on numerous historic buildings, and he's very familiar with this type of roofing system. And he took a look at the modified bitumen roof and flashings on the main roof and on the 4 porticos. And generally, they found the roof to be in poor condition for an 11-year roof, which is not good.
But it's not even 11 years.
Since 2001.
That wasn't part of the project in 05 or 06?
It's my understanding that that was part of the 2001.
The original
project. The roof was.
Did you all get some of those work documents?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this problem, our consultant believes you can see the roof. It should be mostly that gray color from the granules that protect the membrane of the roof, but most of those have worn away, and it leaves you with these giant black areas. The granules are there to protect the roof from UV decay, And so you've got alligatoring going on, which our consultant believes this is definitely a manufacturer warranty item, that this, for some reason, this product has failed. And so that we're instructing the county to contact them. They gave you a 30-year warranty, so you're well within your warranty for replacement.
Is that written in your report?
Yes, sir. Very explicitly. So here's an image that shows areas of defect, which are also in addition to the granule loss that should be addressed. And then they also conducted a moisture survey, which is they found areas where moisture was trapped underneath the membrane, and so that's rotting out your substrate and your insulation. So the recommendation is that when the roof repairs are made, that those sections be cut out completely, the insulation be replaced, and the substrate. So, as I stated, we can work with the county to mediate those warranty issues on the roof. Here's kind of what everyone's been waiting for is the budget numbers. We worked with a cost estimator who has a specialty in historic preservation. She's familiar with the markets and these types of materials. We've broken it down by issue, terracotta, roof, and windows. And if the county were to pursue one of these items individually, it would be noted that some of the money for general conditions and contractor's fee would have to be divided amongst that.
On the roof, though, did you say something was under a warranty?
Yes.
Is that taking into consideration the warranty, the 113?
The 113 takes into account if the manufacturer were to back out. So if the county was have to make a repair on their own. And that is also included in the report. We were recommending cleaning off the existing roof and going back with a 2-coat elastomeric roofing system.
All right. All right.
Which is also a 30-year roof, right? The one you're recommending.
But we already have a 30-year roof.
Right. There should be no dispute in this action. The manufacturer should look at this roof and say yes.
Has any of our damages to some of the other things be attributed to possibly moisture or water penetration through that roof?
Yes.
Do you have any earthly idea of how much of the rest of the costs could be associated to roof issues?
I think it's all included in that total.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that's been taken into account.
Okay.
Well, let me I didn't follow that too well. If there's a roof issue where we may be able to go and ask them to replace it or fix it, was there any damages, and do you have that number that was caused by the roof? What's that number? That's what I was asking.
No, I'm sorry, we do not have that information.
In other words, part of that number may have been attributable to the faulty roof, correct?
Yes.
But you do not know of that number what that attribution is?
No, I'm not aware of any point in the building where water has actually come through.
Okay, but I think that's what I was trying to understand.
Well, for example, on the entrance on the north side of the portico, if you look up on your ceiling, you have peeling and things occurring up there. That normally only occurs when you have water penetration.
Correct.
So,
but that would not be that particular roof, is it? It would be further down?
Yeah, that's a
Right.
portico roof.
Right.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
all the roofs.
Right.
But they're having similar issues.
Yeah.
They are
Okay,
having
so
similar
the same
issues.
people that did the same people that did that 01 roof do the portico roofs as well?
Yes.
So the same people?
Yes,
Okay.
all the
right.
same system. Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a couple of things. I asked Pete to look at the amount of monies, if any, from the bond issue that we did a couple of years ago. See if there's anything that's left over that we can partition out. Secondly, is that we need to send a letter ASAP, if we haven't done that already, to whomever this roofing company was, to get them in here and then figure out how much they're going to replace,
Right.
and then how much of their work caused the damages to the rest of to the building. Then we'll have a true number as to whether it's 1.7 or whatever the number's going to be.
Yeah.
So we need to do that like ASAP, or start now. And you can, and now I would send them I usually send them a copy of the report
Yeah.
that we got,
Yeah, definitely.
When you put that,
and hope they're still in business.
Well, the manufacturer's still in business for sure. Even if the roofer, I'm not aware of whether
you know,
the
when you
roofer's
do
not.
windows, you're replacing every window,
We're not replacing them, we're just restoring them
restoring
in
every
place.
window.
Mhm.
Okay? Because I would like to see also, you know, what we did previously on windows.
I don't know.
I mean, if we had a replacement thing and they came and puttied over and painted, we got a problem.
Yeah,
That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like somebody went and just, you know, and filled it in with stuff and put some super glue on it and patched it up and painted it, and no one knew.
it's a maintenance thing too.
Right.
I mean, it really is. There's a lot of water sitting on those sills.
Okay. Well,
So
today's
with-
action
with
is not
the
to,
Record Reese, Judge?
I'm sorry?
Did Robert Reese oversee this whole project? Would
I'm
he
not, I don't know. I wasn't here, I don't know.
I was here, but
I don't remember.
I don't necessarily on the windows believe that, on any of the work that, I mean, I think at the time they probably thought they were doing all that they could do, what was best. They just, maybe, especially on the terracotta, didn't go all the way and do full replacement. The windows, I think they probably were restored to a high level. It's just, they haven't been kept up.
Okay. Well, I think today, I think all we need to be doing today is approving or acknowledging or
Right.
accepting your report.
Right.
And then unless there's something else, I see Frank coming, and I feel it's going to cost us money.
There's a companion item on the agenda.
One at a time. What?
There's a companion item on the agenda that was tabled.
Okay.
Double S.
Until the presentation, to proceed to design development. or
Which one
schematic design.
is
right here.
Double S, two double S.
Okay.
But we were gonna listen to this presentation.
First.
and then do the other.
All right, well, let me have a motion to acknowledge and,
I do have a couple questions though, Judge. Y'all didn't have any part in the original restoration, right?
Correct.
And I'm sure that group came in here and gave the court assurances. What's the difference here?
The assurance here is that, well, with regards to the terracotta, we would make proposals to do to complete what wasn't completed at that time.
Now, was it not completed because of us or because of them? Do you know?
I do not know, I was not here. My guess is that they only repaired what was showing signs of damage at that point.
And
But we
it's-
can see that report.
Okay, are we to expect that, let's say we pull the trigger on the 1.7, get it done, in 11 years, are you going to be back here having to do more work? Or what's the
Only if we don't do maintenance.
outlay?
In theory, the terracotta should not be an issue.
If you take out the steel and replace it with stainless steel, then you're taking care of the issue, which is corroding.
Well, shouldn't that have been done in the last one, though?
That would be our take on it, but I wasn't here.
We need to look at the specs.
I mean, I don't know if it was a money issue or an oversight on
It was
the
an
design
endless
team.
pit
I
that
don't
we
know.
used, I think.
I mean, is it better just to get an implosion and start over?
You've got a gorgeous building and you've come so far.
What's
should be
another
proud-
$2 million?
Well,
Well, and the most stressful was the little projecting beams of terracotta out under the big cornice up there, because they have all this stuff that they replaced with stainless, and there's just this one last piece that they didn't do, and that's what's rusting now, and those beams, the way they are, they can fall out.
we removed several during our exploration because we were very worried that they were going to fall immediately. So that's a hazard.
And I'm sure that they didn't want to get into, because when you talk about the windows, you have to take out all of the terracotta and out even into each side of the wall there to get to that piece of metal that is supporting it all, and that's a lot of work. And I'm sure.
And it wasn't in their budget.
Most of all that
Yeah.
work was
Came out of the.
Can we replace them with laminate windows, you know?
Oh, that's a dirty word in historic preservation. I think the THC would slap your hand, sir.
I mean, it really wears well.
Yeah.
And you don't have to paint it.
I mean, these blinds or shutters are never open. Why don't we just shut them up?
Right.
Those hurricane protective. I mean, I don't ever recall seeing these things open.
You mean the shutters or the
That's why
windows?
we have condensation.
Both.
The windows you can't. The windows are
But
sealed.
even the shutters, I mean.
And the shutters,
blinds.
those open up every once in a while. I mean,
Well,
no, we're not going to do that.
we're not going there, I guess, you know. But, you know, I use those
Trying to save the county money
glass
here.
or
I
laminate type
understand.
windows. They really are good.
All right, let's move on. On this agenda item, all we're doing is acknowledging and thank you very much for all the work that you did and shedding some light onto what we need to do. So I do hear a motion to accept and acknowledge.
So moved.
By Commissioner Benavides. Do I have a second? By Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carried. Now let's go to the agenda item. Which one was it?
SS.
Double S? And double S, consideration and authorization for Ford, Powell, and Carson to proceed to the design development stage of the Cameron County Courthouse assessment. What's the cost of that?
We've already paid for it.
Move forward. All right, let's
Move to approve.
move forward. Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. What else do we need on that? As far as the allocation or the identification of the monies, we do that at a future time. Once, Pete, you go through that, I guess, that bond issue again and see what we can squeeze out of something, or else because we need to do it.
Because at least within their schedule, the drawings aren't anticipated being done until April next year.
Of 2014?
There's the review process between the THC.
Okay.
That takes place
You
in
know,
between.
if we were to undertake this project, you know, before you leave, what would be a normal time of
Completion. I guess.
completion, like 18 months, a year?
That is going to be a work in progress because you're going to probably have to phase the repair work because you have an occupied building and you won't be able to relocate the inhabitants.
Yeah, but there still
So
would
you
be
might
a
wanna
time
do-
schedule.
Yeah, we'll have
Okay.
to work on that.
What would be, I mean, these guys should give us like an idea.
Well, I guess the best way to look at it, if you were to do the whole thing at once, that would be maybe 12 months.
And assuming nobody was in here.
12 to 18 is definitely.
If you were to do the
It's
whole thing
doable.
at once.
Okay.
But if you're gonna do one side or two sides at a time.
Well, like the
then
window project, well, the roof project
You would
has
have
be
to add to
done.
that timetable.
Well, and then you set up some scaffolding, do the terracotta, and then do the windows, then move it around.
Yeah.
Stagger work, or move.
So 12 to 18 months is not an unreasonable amount of time to look at.
Right.
Wouldn't it be cheaper just to hire you all as employees for a while and put you on staff for a while?
You can't afford them.
Oh,
Oh, really? We can afford you, Frank, we can afford them. Thank you very much, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else before we go into executive session? Okay, do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa. To discuss the items as listed in executive session pursuant to the following code sections: 551.072, 551.0712, 551.087. A lot of items. 551.0711A, 551.071B, 551.071A and B, 551.074. Got them all.